The internet has seen a lot of weird situations, but every once in a while, something shows up that makes people collectively pause and go, yeah, we need to talk about this. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the subject people on TikTok cannot stop talking about recently. Case in point, Timber Bowman. So yeah, this woman is obsessed with a man named Dylan. And according to these clips circulating online, this isn't just a crush, it's turned into something way more intense, way more public, and honestly, way more confusing than most people were prepared for. She's been openly talking as if they were in a relationship, and not just that, she's describing what she calls spiritual confirmations that he's supposedly meant to be her husband. In her version of events, this connection isn't up for debate. It's already decided. And if that wasn't enough to make the internet do a double take, the situation escalates into those moments where viewers are left wondering whether they're watching heartbreak, delusion, performance art, or some strange mix of all three. We mean, just look at her go on and on about why she believed Dylan liked her back.
Beginning, fuck that shit. Let me just start from the first day that I got there, okay? So, the first day that I got there to the program, it was just me and Dylan. We had this little one-on-one thing. As you guys know, he took me grocery shopping, okay? And he was just staring into my soul, like, the whole entire car ride. Like, he was actually just staring into my soul. And, like, we were just talking, we were just vibing, like, chatting it up, all that kind of stuff, you know, whatever, lovey-dovey.
This right here is delusion on another level, because believe it or not, the man she's talking to has no interest in her, and we can assure you that he was definitely not the one staring into her soul. Now, people online have been comparing this whole situation to Tyler Catastrophe. Remember the man who was obsessed with Wilbur Soot? Well, he probably still is. But honestly, we don't think this is anywhere near comparable. We mean, this girl makes Tyler Catastrophe look like an innocent child.
Of those natures, bro. Like, why the are you doing this? Literally, that's literally what I was saying. And you can ask anybody else that was up in that goddamn house that day, because they knew that I was ready to knock that mother out, bro. Okay, I don't really know. Like, I'm trying to, like, keep my emotions inside. Okay, because that day was crazy for me. That was really crazy for me. I literally stayed up all night, bawling my eyes out, literally to the point that I'm pretty sure I was, like, gagging, like, almost vomiting, because I literally stayed up all night, like, bawling my goddamn heart out. Literally, like, what the did I do? Like, why the is this happening? Like, I didn't really understand.
And look, before we get into any of this, we need to make one thing very clear. From everything that's been posted online, Timber very obviously seems like somebody who is struggling mentally. And this is not a situation where people should be sending harassment, bullying her, or trying to turn her into some kind of internet punching bag. That helps nobody. In fact, we advise people, just like Dylan did, to not interact with her pages. We mean, just look at these posts she made a while ago, and it genuinely shows that she's been struggling mentally for a long time. That being said, at the same time, though, this situation has escalated to a point where it's genuinely concerning, not just because of the obsession itself, but because of how public, intense, and persistent it's become online. And when you look into some of the other stories and alleged behavior surrounding her past, the whole thing becomes less cringe internet drama and more, how did nobody step in sooner? For instance, the fact that she is a literal convict who's been to jail and has harassed people before. Honestly, if the genders were reversed here, let's be honest, people would be reacting very differently. If a man were repeatedly posting about a woman he believed was secretly in love with him, claiming they were spiritually connected, talking about marriage publicly despite there being no actual relationship, and constantly making content centered around her, people would immediately call it stalking, and they would probably be right to do so. But with Timber, the conversation online has been strange. Some people treat it like a meme, some think it's funny, others are deeply uncomfortable watching it unfold in real time, and really it's hard to know where the line is between internet spectacle and somebody clearly needing serious help. And trust us, once you actually start going through the lore surrounding this situation, it somehow gets even more bizarre. So let's start from the beginning. The woman at the center of all this is a 22-year-old TikTok creator known online as Timber Sperry. And yes, that last name is important, because Sperry is not actually her real surname. It's the surname of the man she's obsessed with, Dylan Sperry, which already tells you the level we're operating at here. She's built a decent following on TikTok with tens of thousands of followers, millions of views, and the majority of her online presence revolves around Dylan in some way. Now, once we started digging into her online presence, we found out that she actually has a lot of different accounts, and every single one of them is just as unhinged. To get to the point, according to her, Dylan and she are spiritually connected, fated, destined to be together, and in some videos she even speaks as if they're already basically married.
So basically, I just got done making a post saying Happy Mother's Day to my wife, aka husband, Dylan Sperry.
We're talking wedding planning, talking about their future children, picking out dresses, imagining their future life together publicly online. And the weirdest part is that according to Timber herself, this obsession didn't just randomly appear overnight. If you go to her TikTok page, there's an older pinned video with over 5 million views, where she's explaining how she allegedly had a vision while she was in jail that she and Dylan were meant to be together. Yeah, seriously.
A very spiritual awakening. I had a vision. And while I was in jail, I had a vision of this guy that was in a band. And, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I can still kind of see the vision, by the way. And, like, it's so heartwarming. But, like, my heart is literally beating so freaking fast right now. But, like, I was in jail, and I had the vision of the guy. And I seen that he had, like, a infant child, like, a toddler-sized child. From there, I had another spiritual vision of him, like, in that same night. Mind you, this was, like, 2 years ago, by the way. This is way before I ever met this guy.
And somehow that's only the beginning of this story. So according to Timber, she became convinced years ago that she would eventually meet some mysterious man with long blonde hair whose name would supposedly start with the letter D. And in her mind, when she met Dylan in September 2025, that was it. Puzzle solved. Prophecy completed. Case closed.
And my spiritual guidance said yes, that I marry this guy. And I was like, okay, so basically, fast forward, last year of 2025 of September, it was September 2nd, the day before I met the guy that I like. And the lady goes, by the way, the guy that you like now will not be the guy that you will be marrying. And I was like, what do you mean? Because I was like, I'm already like contemplating, like, do I really want to marry this guy? Like, the guy from before that I was liking, like, 10 months ago, almost over a year ago now. And I was already contemplating, I was like, do I really want to be with this guy? Like, my spiritual guidance told me in jail that I wouldn't be marrying him, you know? And I was like, I really wanted to go with my heart, but my heart left that guy. But my mind was there, and I was like, I just want to, like, stick to, like, what I felt like I made a promise for, you know what I mean? So it only kind of felt right for me to, like, still kind of like him. And then she was like, I can tell you that his first name starts with the letter D, but I can't tell you his last name, can't tell you anything else about him. And she was, like, also making it known that I was, like, basically going to meet this guy right away, like, as soon as I moved.
And ever since then, the obsession has seemingly consumed her entire online presence, to the point that she wants to get his tattoos on her body, along with his name.
I literally said, I can't wait to get Dylan's tattoos plus his name on me. So I want his ghost tattoo that's on his right arm. I want his shark tattoo that's on his right upper leg. I want his tattoo that are on his legs. They look like swords, like red. They're like red sword things, I don't know.
So you can see clearly that when we say obsession, we don't mean a harmless celebrity crush or somebody posting a few edits of a guy they think is cute. We mean our page is flooded with content about Dylan. Now, before people jump into the comments saying, okay, but maybe she's just mentally unwell and has a delusional cute crush, what's the big deal? Well, here's where the situation starts becoming a lot more serious, because Dylan's not just some random influencer she saw online. Dylan actually works or worked at the psychiatric facility Timber was attending. In other words, this was somebody in a counselor or staff type role around her, and he talked about it himself in a video.
Manage this situation. I have to be very careful about what I say to protect myself legally. I was a life skills specialist or a direct support professional for a company working with people with special needs. And this person was a client to this company.
Now this changes the entire tone of the story, because once somebody starts publicly claiming that a mental health worker was secretly in love with them, a patient leading them on, seducing them, or trying to pursue a relationship behind the scenes, those accusations can have real consequences for the other person involved. However, from everything publicly available, it's clear that Dylan himself has never acted like there was any romantic relationship happening at all. In fact, he eventually had to come online and address the situation directly because things had apparently escalated to the point where he was being harassed, stalked, and accused of cheating on a relationship that, according to him, never existed in the first place. Which is honestly insane to even say out loud. And what makes this whole thing even more uncomfortable is that Dylan actually handled the situation surprisingly calmly. Considering the circumstances, most people would probably be panicking, threatening legal action immediately, or disappearing off the internet entirely. Instead, he tried to address it in a mature and respectful way, while also making it clear that the situation had become deeply concerning. But before we get into Dylan's response video, I think we first need to look at some of the content Timber herself was posting about him, because once you actually see the pattern of behavior and the kinds of things she was uploading publicly, you start to understand why so many people online were genuinely disturbed by this whole situation. Now, before we continue, we do need to acknowledge something important here. A lot of people online have pointed out that Timber has a history of exaggerating stories, contradicting herself, and saying extremely outlandish things for attention. And later in this video, we'll get into some of the other controversies and incidents surrounding her internet presence, because trust us, this rabbit hole somehow keeps getting deeper. But for now, we're only going to focus on the recent Dylan situation itself, on the content she's publicly posted about him, because honestly, even without all the extra lore, the videos alone are concerning enough. So after her first viral story time, Timber continued posting non-stop about Dylan. She uploaded follow-up videos expanding on the situation, talking about supposed signs that proved Dylan secretly loved her, and trying to explain why she believed she was the one for him.
And I'm like, Dylan, I'm not really good at like electronics, all that kind of stuff. I ended up getting my TV and a PlayStation. Dylan was working, and I was like, hey, could you help me hook up my PlayStation and my TV? He was like, yeah, I can. He was like, yeah, hon, I could help you hook up your TV and all that kind of stuff, right? This dude was in my room with the smile on his face, like the happiest smile on his face, and he literally had a boner. Okay, he literally had a fucking boner.
Honestly, we feel sorry for him. This guy's literally a life skills specialist at this facility, and it's technically his job to help her with this kind of stuff, but she interpreted it as something else entirely.
And I came downstairs. I literally ran downstairs and I was like, Dylan, what is your band name? I was like, can I follow you? And he was like, yeah, you can follow me. And at this time, me and him were literally dating at this time. And we still are dating, but we were literally dating at this time. And because he literally asked me out.
As you can see, some of the arguments she's making here are genuinely painful to listen to because they sound so completely detached from reality. She would point to tiny interactions, coincidences, or random moments and interpret them as undeniable proof that Dylan was secretly in love with her the entire time. I mean, just look at this.
And that day, he wasn't even supposed to work that day. He came in on his day off, which made me think, okay, he came in on his day off because he likes me. Because he wants to, like, surprise me or, like, you know, something. All of a sudden, I literally have this vision, and I'm like, oh my God, he's literally going to give me something. Like, he's gonna gift me something, okay? And so he comes upstairs from outside because he was cleaning his truck. He has a big-ass, nice-ass truck, honestly. He was like, this bitch got like 8 million miles, 10 million miles. And I'm like, okay. And he's literally told me all the stories about how he's literally traveled everywhere. Like, we would literally travel to fucking Walmart and he would give me fucking cheesy tots. His cheesy tots, bitch. He would only share his cheesy tots with me. Stop playing. He only shared his cheesy tots with me. He didn't offer anybody else in the car if they wanted some motherfucking cheesy tots. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. Them bitches are my cheesy tots, bitch, okay? But anyways, he comes upstairs and he has this little, like, sunflower clip And it's like so adorable, and I'm like, oh my god, how the fuck does he know that sunflowers are my favorite flower? I'm like, how the fuck does he know that sunflowers are my favorite flower? And he like demonstrates, and he goes, hey hon, you like, and you put this in your hair. And I literally remember, and like I wasn't really feeling good, so, and I was like just waking up out of my sleep as he was coming upstairs into my room to give me something.
We don't really think we have the words to describe what this is. However, the situation escalated even further because at some point, she stopped speaking about the relationship like it was a future possibility and started talking as if it had already happened. She began claiming that they had gotten married in June of this year, which is weird because June has not arrived yet. And there's more. She started discussing the kind of wedding dress she wanted for the ceremony, what their life together would look like, and eventually even began talking about having a daughter together.
In TAF. So, guys, I literally have a literal wedding dress picked out. It is so freaking cute. Like me and my husband and my daughter. I'd be like wanting to joke around and call her my daughter-in-law, because like, would that make sense? But I don't really want to say that though, because I love her like my real daughter, so.
She was even posting content about decorating and planning a room makeover for their 5-year-old daughter.
Back to our like wedding plans and like bedroom plans for our children. I'm either thinking about getting her the big pink bed, the big queen bed, I believe it's a queen.
And honestly, it's a rabbit hole that's hard to completely get down to because Timber here likes to post 10-minute long videos. What's worse is that each and every one of her storylines is packed with new, absurd, made-up details that'll make you go, wait, where did this come from? Where did the freaking daughter come from? And that's the point where this stops feeling like internet cringe and starts feeling genuinely alarming. And watching somebody publicly spiral into that kind of fantasy in front of thousands and thousands of people is honestly unsettling. She would upload emotional edits about Dylan, sing songs for him.
Dylan Sperry, I wanna get married to you, 'cause you are like the diamond in the sky.
But now that we understand just how obsessed Timber seemed to become with this guy, we think it's time to finally talk about the man this entire situation revolves around, Dylan Sperry. For those of you who don't know, Dylan is the lead vocalist of a band called Yote, and if you look through Timber's TikTok account, it's obvious she became heavily invested in both him and his music. She constantly referenced his band, posted about the songs, and spoke about him. But the big question is, how did Timber even discover Dylan's music and online presence in the first place? Well, depending on who you ask, the story changes completely. According to Timber, their connection was some kind of destined spiritual relationship that started when they were just kids.
Okay, so apparently you guys really want a story time about how me and Dylan technically met when we were children. And about how I technically helped create our child, our 4-year-old daughter, together. Yes, I do know that she is not my biological child. Yes, I am totally okay with that, but I'm never going to put it into her face that she's not my biological child.
Well, her story keeps changing, and we'll talk about this in a short while. And by the way, the daughter that she keeps talking about is actually Dylan's daughter, who she thinks is her daughter, and she helped create her somehow. Honestly, just scary. But according to Dylan, what actually happened was much more straightforward and much more uncomfortable. Now, one thing you should know is that Timber keeps saying that Dylan gave her his account and band name, and he went out of his way to give him this information.
Asking him back out. Like, if you knew that I was obsessed with you, if you know that I'm in love with you, then why the fuck would you go out of your way to give me your social media? Like, are you okay? You know that I'm in love with you. You know that I'm obsessed with you. Why the fuck would you give me your social media? Like, what? What, bitch?
However, Dylan claims that while working at the psychiatric facility, he had mentioned his band during a conversation with another resident who happened to be Timber's roommate. Timber allegedly overheard the conversation, found his social media accounts online afterward, discovered his band pages, and from there became increasingly fixated on him.
This person, I believe, overheard a conversation I was having with one of her roommates discussing rock and roll music and talking about my band. and found my band, and through that links to my Facebook and my social media accounts, and trying to ran with it. I'm not going to elaborate any further on this situation regarding this person. I don't want to feed it. I think feeding it will only cause it to continue. This person has a pattern of posting extreme things on the internet for attention. So please do not harass or bully this person. If you can, avoid contact with this person. And on a personal note, if you see anything regarding my daughter, if you see anything deemed as a threat, I would greatly appreciate it if you would record that video or save it or send it to my band's page, so that way we can save it and I can continue building a file so that I may protect myself.
I mean, imagine being randomly dragged into a massive viral internet drama simply because somebody decided to build an entire online fantasy around you and your family. This man has a real life. He has a family. He has kids. And suddenly thousands of strangers online know his name because someone keeps publicly talking about him as if they're secretly married. That's an insane situation for anybody to deal with. And despite all of that, Dylan still publicly asked viewers not to harass or bully Timber.
I won't elaborate on what I'm doing legally to protect myself. I won't elaborate on the company that I worked for, and I won't elaborate on this person, what's going on with them, their diagnosis, anything. I really, really appreciate everyone's concern. I am safe. My family is safe. I'm not recording this from my home, and she does not know where my family lives. She only knows what she has access to on the internet, and my Facebook page I use for slight personal use and mainly advertising my music, if I can. So, I am safe. My family is safe. Thank you for your concern. I love you very much. And if you like my music, stick around. I'm gonna try and keep making more and see how long that goes. You know, so I run out of ideas, I guess. Love you, bye.
He made it clear that he believed she needed help rather than hate, which honestly says a lot about how maturely he approached the situation, considering everything happening around him. At the same time, though, you can tell this entire ordeal has probably been exhausting for him. Now, as for the claims that Dylan supposedly gave her his social media accounts himself, even Timber's own videos seem to contradict that, because in one of her storylines, she basically explains in detail how she searched through his online presence herself, looking through Spotify, Facebook, social media pages, band accounts, and pretty much every corner of the internet connected to him.
I overhear him talking about a story about how he was in a band. And technically the first day that I met him from the program, like the first day that we reunited in the program, excuse me, he did tell me that he was in a band. And I totally forgot that he told me that he was in a band. I totally forgot. I was like, because I would hear him singing all the time. And I was literally like, Dylan, you're honestly a really, really good singer. And he would always be like, thank you. And then he did tell me that he was a lead singer of a band. Found his actual name through his not SoundCloud, Spotify. Through his Spotify from his band. From his, band page. Music website page, whatever. And so I added him on Facebook. And he didn't block me off of his band page at all until I started sharing his music. And I'm like, well, this is kind of weird. If I'm your girlfriend, then why the fuck can't I share your music? Like, are you okay? And I was just like very, very confused as to why he blocked me from his band page. And then I ended up finding his Facebook. Okay, and I set him under my future husband, and then I deleted the chat because I was kind of scared that the other workers would try to go through my phone and see the fact that we were technically together.
So yeah, she actually stalked him and kept sharing his music videos. And guess what? She ended up getting blocked and also got a warning. We found this post on Reddit. It's supposed to be an apology from Timber and a note from Dylan on behalf of the band, stating that she's not allowed to associate herself with the band or share their music online. So yeah, a major part of what Timber's been telling the internet either changes constantly or doesn't seem to line up with her own previous stories. And honestly, one of the biggest examples of that is the story of how she and Dylan supposedly met. At first, past. Timber claimed that while she was in jail, she had some kind of spiritual vision or premonition that she would eventually meet a blonde man whose name started with D. Then she said she finally met Dylan in September, and according to her version of events, one of their first interactions involved him taking her grocery shopping and spending time with her. But later on, the story suddenly changed again. In newer videos, she started claiming that she and Dylan had actually known each other since childhood. Yes, somehow the lore expanded again. According to this newer version, Timber says she was connected to Dylan years ago through either a former boyfriend or an old best friend situation, and then she uploaded this incredibly long and confusing story time, attempting to explain how she and Dylan were apparently childhood friends. And honestly, trying to follow this video feels like getting trapped in someone else's fever dream. We're not gonna force you guys to sit through 10 straight minutes of that, so let us summarize it for you. According to Timber, Dylan had two moms, one of whom had a daughter who was supposedly Dylan's sister. Timber claims she knew this sister from around 6th grade through social media, despite them not even going to the same school. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, Timber claims this girl supposedly asked if she wanted to be adopted into Dylan's family, which already sounds bizarre enough.
I don't remember if she went to the same school as me or not, but I do remember that one day she messaged me and goes, my moms want to know if maybe they could adopt you.
But then midway through the story, the entire thing somehow derails into talk about past lives, sirens, spiritual connections, and being abducted by a siren in another lifetime. Because according to Timber, she herself is a siren in this life. We genuinely wish we were making that up. And oh, by the way, she also said that children are attracted to her.
I'm a mermaid from my past life, and in this life, and when I was a mermaid, I was abducted by, by a siren. I was abducted by a siren as a little child, as a little girl, okay? And I, became a mermaid. Somehow I wasn't a siren, but it's kind of a little weird because in this life, I am technically a siren, I believe, and technically not a mermaid. And I'm like, I don't really know what that means, but at the same time, children attract themselves to me, so I'm like, hopefully that's not something creepy, because I don't kidnap kids.
At that point, the story completely stops sounding like a real-life explanation and starts sounding like somebody smashed together TikTok spirituality, Wattpad fanfiction, and a paranormal podcast at 3 a.m. But despite how chaotic and disconnected the story became, the video eventually circled back to Dylan again, with Timber claiming that the two of them had always been destined to date once they got older.
Decided that if we were ever going to date, that we would wait until we both got a little more older and mature to actually understand love and relationships. I have been single for 7 years. He's been single for probably about longer than that. The only thing is he has an actual alive child, so. But that's basically how we met each other, and we've been messaging each other off and on throughout our whole entire lives. And the last time we got a hold of each other, I was living with an ex-best friend of mine, and my ex-best friend smashed my phone. I smashed his phone, and I didn't ever have a way of getting a hold of him. And then I stayed into a mental hospital, and then they placed me into this housing facility that he worked in, and we met each other and we clicked right away. And the first day that I met him, I fell in love with him.
She also said that at the same time she and Dylan were allegedly introduced, Dylan was already dating someone, but she still downplayed it, claiming this girl and Dylan were just friends.
Me and him were talking, and he was like, I have a girlfriend. And I was like, okay. And me and the girlfriend started talking a little more after the visit, and it was totally fine. I also had a boyfriend at the time, sorry. And basically we just started messaging each other, me and the baby mom. Sorry, I was trying to remember where I was at. Me and the girlfriend at the time, which is now his baby mom. So they haven't even been in a, they technically really weren't even boyfriend and girlfriend. They were really just friends. And they just called each other boyfriend and girlfriend because one's a guy, one's a girl, and they're friends. And which is exactly what the baby mom had explained to me. She was like, I don't want you to think that I want your man, but she was like, but I really do kind of want to have a child with this guy though. And I was like, really? Let me plant a seed into your soul.
So yeah, there is that. Apparently Dylan's girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife, by the way, wanted to have a child with him, and Timber ended up helping them in some way, which she then framed in a way that made it sound like the child was somehow technically also hers. Or at least that's what she seems to imply. It's honestly hard to follow exactly what she means.
So I planted a seed into her soul, and I kind of explained to her, I was like, I'm a mermaid from my past life. We've been trying to have a kid and it's not working, and I just kind of really want to find someone else, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay. So I basically got her pregnant.
At this point, we don't even know if she understands how this works. It just becomes really difficult to know what parts of Timber's stories are even grounded in reality, because when somebody's talking about Dylan secretly loving them while also discussing being a mermaid or having spiritual siren lore in the same conversation, it's hard to take any of these claims at face value. And to be clear, none of this is meant to mock mental illness. If anything, the deeper you go into this situation, the more obvious it becomes that this is somebody who seriously needs intervention and support instead of internet validation. But the reason people are so alarmed by the Dylan situation is that, according to online discussions and Timber's own videos, this apparently isn't the first time something like this has happened, because Dylan is not the only person she's allegedly built elaborate stories around. And this next part of the story is important, because a lot of people online don't even know about it. According to public discussions surrounding Timber, there have been reports of multiple arrests in the past, including incidents involving harassment and assault allegations. We didn't find much detailed information about her offenses. Still, we did come across 2 mugshots from different time periods and some criminal records suggesting convictions related to harassment, third-degree theft, and domestic abuse assault. So yes, she's being described online as potentially dangerous, which is also probably why she's ended up in a mental health facility in the first place. And because of that, many are questioning why she appears to have access to unsupervised internet use at all. However, getting back to the story of her jail and her other victims, one of the situations people keep bringing up involves a man she referred to online as her ex-boyfriend or ex-best friend. Although many viewers watching the situation now would probably describe him more as another victim of obsessive behavior rather than a normal ex-relationship. From what people were able to piece together online, Timber herself told a long story about becoming fixated on this man named Cody, who she described as both a childhood friend and her baby daddy.
Elementary school. Okay, let's just start at elementary school. Okay, so this dude, Cody, is the guy's name, the baby dad. Okay, I don't even want to call him my baby dad though. Like, that's how not obsessed I am with him. Like, I'm just using whitewash terms for your guys' sake. Okay, so you guys can understand the story. So if I call him my baby dad, like, I don't fucking like this guy at all. At all. Not at all. Not at all. Okay. So anyways, I'll start with elementary school. So this dude keep on hitting me up.
And yes, once again, somehow every person in these stories conveniently turns out to be a childhood connection, best friend, soulmate, or spiritually destined partner. And oh, also, Cody was gay.
Used to go to. She was like a teacher para, something like that. Like, she would help people with their, like, probes, or like reading probes, math probes, all of that stuff. And she literally is helping me with my reading test. And she's like, by the way, I just want you to know that my son is gay. And I'm like, if your son is gay, then why does he keep asking me out? Like, I'm feeling very uncomfy. And she's like, And I don't know. It's like, it's so fucking dumb. Like, I can't even explain it, okay? Like, that's just how fucking dumb it is. That's just how fucking dumb it is, bro. Like, why do you fuck? Like, literally, why the fuck me?
Again, we're not going to subject you to 20 minutes of torture because she did upload a 2-part video about this situation. But according to Timber's version of events, she claimed she became pregnant with twins and was trying to tell this guy about it. But the story allegedly escalated into repeated attempts to contact him, showing up at his house, and eventually an incident where police were called after she was reportedly outside the home.
Realizing that I am actually pregnant and that I'm not fucking delusional is August 8th, August 9th, August 10th of 2023. The month after I conceived the twins. I miscarried one in the toilet of the mental hospital. The mental hospital grabbed my baby out the toilet because I didn't feel comfortable flushing the toilet.
Yeah. She lied a bunch about being pregnant, and the details she's giving here just don't sound real. And also, apparently, this Cody person also had a crush on her stepbrother. As we said, the stories keep getting weirder and weirder.
Guy that the Cody guy is gay for, the stepbrother, my stepbrother, whatever. And I was like, hey, I am pregnant with Cody's kid. And he's like, how the fuck are you pregnant with Cody's kids? We're gay, this, and this. And I'm like, dude, this literally happened. And then they started making up this story about me saying how I broke into Cody's mom's house when nobody was there. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not even a criminal. I'm not a criminal. I've never broken into anybody's house before. I've never even stolen ever a day in my life.
In her retelling, she tried to present herself as this abandoned, helpless, pregnant girl with nobody there to support her, while portraying everyone else as cruel and uncaring.
I'm like, how else can I fucking lure him into wanting to be present in his own child's pregnancy, of my own pregnancy with his own child? So I was like, okay, I remember the day that his grandpa passed away. He calls him Pop. How would I not know this if we didn't used to be best friends when we were kids, okay? He literally would call him Pop. And I can't remember the date exactly, but he either passed away the 13th of July or he passed away the 14th or the 15th of July. I can't remember, I'm sorry. But, and he passed away like a really long time ago when we were in elementary school. So, or when we were in junior high school, and I only remember this because I was like, why did my best friend not come to school today? Okay. And he literally told me because his grandpa passed away, which I was like, okay, whatever, that's fine. And so I was like, all right, so what if I just lure him with his favorite snacks? Because I started remembering about him the more that I was like obsessing over him. So I was like, okay, I remember all of his snacks, all of the drinks that he likes, blah blah blah, blase. So I got them bitches, and I gave it to the mom, or I gave it to someone. Oh, that was the first time that I went to their house. That time they did call the cops, but I ended up leaving. Before the cops got there. That day that I brought the snacks, which I believe that day was March 3rd or March 4th or March 5th or March 6th.
So yeah, she was basically harassing them. But guess what? She also lied to police officers, telling them any urine, blood, or saliva test does not work on her because she has low HCG levels, which, we're sorry, sounds incredibly suspicious.
I was telling her, I'm like, hey, I am pregnant with Cody's children. Well, child now because I had a miscarriage with one. And she just like, blah, 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 blah. Didn't really give a fuck. And, some weird ass shit went down. Like, when I tell you weird ass shit, I mean weird ass fucking shit went down. The mom came to her house. It is the mom's house. His mom's house. The mom came to the house from her job. And we got into it. We got into an altercation. And she was like, I don't want to fucking see you ever again. My son doesn't like you. He doesn't give a fuck about you. My son is gay. This, and this. So I'm like, whatever. All right, whatever. So then fast forward to the July 14th or 15th that I went there. At that time, I was 5 months overdue. March, April, May, June, July. July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. That's 9 months of me being pregnant, okay? And all of a sudden, I ended up talking to the cop. The cop was like, we weren't going to take you to jail, but basically because you have this warrant, whatever, out for your arrest due to the domestic from December of 2022, or of 2023, sorry, when I was 5 months pregnant. I don't really remember. Like, I'm having so much fucking PTSD right now, sorry. But basically they decided to take me to jail. The cops were like, are you pregnant? Well, I told them I was pregnant. They were like, are you pregnant? And I explained to them that I had this thing where I have a disorder where my pregnancy doesn't come back positive through blood, urine, or saliva, because it's like low CHG levels or HCG levels or something like that. And they basically police brutality'd me when I swear to God, I wasn't even doing anything wrong. I was just sitting there, and I started instantly bawling my eyes out. I started having a spiritual vision of the police dragging me around and of my baby being, yeah. So that night, my baby's heartbeat died while I was in jail. So thank you. If you don't want to believe me, don't believe me. I don't give a fuck. But if you're spiritual, you should know the truth.
We mean, this is just on another level. And again, this is where the situation becomes difficult to untangle, because our stories constantly shift, contradict each other, or become more elaborate over time. However, every time you think you've reached the strangest part of the story, another layer gets added on top of it. So there's a creator online by the name of Chloe who actually contacted this Cody guy. And even though Cody didn't want to get online and bring attention to himself, he did end up communicating with Chloe and shared his side of the story. And according to him, he never even did anything to her. They were never in a relationship at all.
It was at this point I figured out that she'd been going to my house when I'm not there, and my mom has sleep apnea, so she was out cold in her room while this transpired. Once I figured this out, I made a police report and everything, spoke with an officer who's arrested her previously and knows of her, but he ended up saying he can't do anything unless she's there, pretty much. But I made my claim because I was pissed off. Once I did that, a few more days go by and I'm with my boyfriend at his house, and my mother tells me Timber is here on the back porch. We rush there immediately and find her there. I'm yelling at her, cursing, getting aggressive with my words, trying to make her leave, and she wouldn't go. My mother calls the police, and while they're on the way, I'm inside the house talking with Luke, and my mom is out there one-on-one being kinder than I was, telling her she needs help, she needs to leave me alone and stop coming here, stalking me, posting misinformation about me. She wasn't even flinching. She was so in her world and caught off guard that I was with a boy. Then me and Luke sat down and told her what we've been wanting to get off our chest for a minute about her and the bullshit she's been causing us. She didn't take our relationship seriously and thought it was all some prank. Eventually the police came and arrested her, and I didn't see her again until passing by in a car, and she was walking on the sidewalk with a cart from a store like she was homeless. I read that. I was in shock. I said, that is actually insane. I am so sorry. I can't even imagine. Then Cody followed up with, just wanted to clear the air because lots of people are trying to put together what she's saying, and I needed to set the record straight, at least about me and my boyfriend. We never had any kind of intercourse. I'm not too sure where this whole I'm pregnant bullshit is coming from. I'm not a monster. I'm a victim. And immediately I let him know, we know he is a victim. We fully believe his story. We know that Timber is lying, but we also want to help the internet to not speculate on all of this, and just clear the air, because there's no reason to talk about it, and honestly, people are going to talk until things are cleared up. Unfortunately, that is just the way the internet does work in this day and age. And then he did give me permission to show everybody what he said. He did also say that he wants her to leave him alone, and he does feel bad for anybody who's had to put up with her insanity. Absolutely agree with that. My heart goes out to the victims of Timber.
So yeah, it was actually her who was allegedly harassing this poor guy, forcing herself into his life, and even reportedly showing up at his house and wearing his clothes, and then having the audacity to go online and talk about him like he was the villain in this story. Honestly, it's just disturbing. But if you think this is where everything ends, you're completely mistaken, because then came the same breakup/heartbreak saga, where she started claiming that Dylan had broken her heart, especially after Dylan publicly addressed this situation and reportedly started distancing himself once things began getting too intense online. Now, Dylan's response video came after all of this, and for some reason we can't find the original rejection videos on her page anymore, but they're still circulating online.
The next day or later on that week, he starts acting really sketchy. And I'm like, why is my man acting sketchy as like he got something to hide? Okay. Tell me why. I literally come downstairs and it's like nighttime outside because it's literally pitch, like the room was kind of like dimmed dark downstairs and the outside was black. So I know this was a different day because he worked night this day. Basically, he starts rejecting me. You haven't rejected me not one time since I've been here. But all of a sudden, you're rejecting me? Okay, I'm pissed. So he's sitting in the chair and his phone is like this on the chair rest. And his phone is like this on the chair rest. By the way, I'm on TikTok live on my other phone. His phone is like this on the chair rest and he starts going. And then all of a sudden, and like he looks sad as, and then all of a sudden he does one of these numbers. He has his phone like this and he goes, and some fat ass motherfucking bitch was on his phone.
So yeah, in this first video, she explained how Dylan started acting strange toward her, how she believed it was because he was cheating on her, because at this point she had already convinced herself that this man was her boyfriend. However, what we really think actually happened is that Dylan probably started realizing the situation was getting way more serious and uncomfortable than he initially thought, and he needed to distance himself from her. But Timber clearly was not willing to accept that. Instead, she started posting increasingly emotional and aggressive videos, and at one point, she was basically threatening to quite literally throw hands on him.
And now that I know what his mom looks like, I look and think it was his mom, okay? So I'm like, who's this? And I'm getting aggressive as I'm literally threatening to beat his ass. I'm literally threatening to beat that bitch ass on the phone, all that shit, all that extra miles, all that shit, okay? And he just like started just acting really fucking strange that day. And like he started taking pictures of him doing this, like sad face with a heart. And I'm like, dude, you never are this goddamn low, bro. Like, you are never this goddamn low. I don't even have a hole in my phone. I don't have nothing of those natures, bro. Like, why the are you doing this? Literally, that's literally what I was saying. And you can ask anybody else that was up in that goddamn house that day, because they knew that I was ready to knock that mother out, bro. Okay, I don't really know. Like, I'm trying to like keep my emotions inside. Okay, because that day was crazy for me. That was really crazy for me. I literally stayed up all night, bawling my eyes out, literally to the point that I'm pretty sure I was like gagging, like almost vomiting, because I literally stayed up all night, like bawling my goddamn heart out. Literally, like, what the did I do? Like, why the is this happening? Like, I didn't really understand. And then I kept on having this really weird spiritual vision, really weird spiritual download. And it was basically telling me how the was gonna go with the Dylan.
And guess what? She also made a reaction video responding to Dylan's statement. And oh man, the level of delusion in that video is honestly hard to process. Now, if you've seen Dylan's original video addressing the situation, you probably noticed there was a flower visible in his car. Well, according to Timber's interpretation of events, she somehow convinced herself that the flower was meant for her.
Anyways, so I just felt the need to say something, is the fact that that flower in Dylan's video is literally for me. So I don't really care about what none of you fucking hoes on TikTok have to say. Like, 90,000 people love him for me, and I love him for me. Honestly, actually, over 1.2 million people love Dylan for me. So, I personally don't care what you guys have to say about me or my man. But that flower, though, I literally, like, just had chills. Like, run through my body, and like I almost just started crying. Like you guys can see like the tears in my eyes right now.
And at that point, you genuinely have to wonder, did she even listen to a single thing this man said in the video? Because Dylan was very clearly trying to create distance and set boundaries, while Timber somehow interpreted parts of the video as secret signs and hidden messages directed toward her. But wait, because somehow things got even worse. Not long after that, another TikTok account connected to her uploaded a video where she claimed that her mother was taking her away somewhere. And then once again, she started claiming that she was pregnant.
So what is up, you guys? Today is my official move-out day for the hotel. Unfortunately, I am panicking, by the way. Like, I'm mentally panicking, physically panicking, emotionally freaking panicking right now, okay, guys? So, today's my move-out day. My mom is coming to get me. We haven't been getting along very well, and I'm really freaking scared. So, I hope that everything goes well. If this goes wrong, I could be very badly hurt. And I also am still pregnant with my child. Well, mine and Dylan's child is just not Dylan's biological child. Like, he still claims my baby, but he just knows that he or she isn't his biological child, which is totally okay. Oh yeah, and also happy Mother's Day to Dylan, by the way, guys. So everyone, make sure you guys go tell Dylan Sperry happy freaking Mother's Day.
Yes, again. And this honestly seems to be a recurring pattern throughout many of the stories surrounding our online presence. Becoming intensely attached to a man, building an entire emotional narrative around him, and then eventually introducing pregnancy claims into the situation. Something is very clearly wrong here, and honestly, the entire thing is sad, concerning, exhausting, and genuinely unsettling all at the same time. But if you think the drama ended there, you are very mistaken, because while we were putting this video together, more and more information just kept appearing online. Multiple creators started digging deeper into her background, trying to contact family members, looking into old posts, and turning this entire situation into a full-blown internet investigation. There are also discussions online involving her family dynamics, including claims and rumors about her mother and people around her. Then there were the screenshots circulating online that allegedly showed threats being sent to family members. And of course, there's also the live stream situation. A few days ago, Timber reportedly went live with a group of random people online, and honestly, it became another example of the internet doing what it always does, finding somebody visibly unstable, turning them into a spectacle, and pushing the situation further and further for entertainment. And that live stream is genuinely uncomfortable to watch. Because while we are absolutely not saying that Timber's behavior is okay, it's also painfully obvious that this is somebody who appears deeply unwell. And the internet has this horrible habit of finding vulnerable or unstable people and escalating the chaos around them instead of stepping away. Yes, Timber's responsible for the things she has posted publicly. Yes, she's put herself online willingly. But at the same time, thousands of people mocking, provoking, and farming reactions from somebody who's clearly spiraling is not helping the situation either. And a lot of people online seem to think this way. Honestly, the best thing people could do at this point is stop interacting with her content entirely. Because the more attention this gets, the worse the situation seems to become. And genuinely, many people online are now questioning why she still appears to have unrestricted internet access while all of this is unfolding publicly in real time, especially now that trolls, live streams, reaction creators, and endless online attention have become part of the situation too. At this point, Timber is now being questioned online over multiple controversial statements and bizarre live stream moments. But honestly, it's difficult to even tell how aware she is of the things she's saying anymore. What we do know is that there are better ways to bring awareness to situations like this than turning somebody's mental health spiral into internet entertainment. And on that note, we're going to end today's video here. We tried our best to cover as much of this situation as possible, but honestly, this entire story is so messy and keeps evolving literally every single day. Because even now, Timber is still uploading videos and reportedly talking about yet another man who's also named Dylan.
So basically, you guys are literally blowing me up about my freaking sneaky link. This is honestly so freaking ridiculous. Like, I am so, like, happy that you guys care that much about my sneaky link. His name is also Dylan, by the way. Like, I know that this is a little ironically weird. And his last name also starts with the letter S, and he also has long blonde hair. And he also has a lot of freaking tattoos, like a lot of
She's uploading videos showing someone's shoes and saying that it is her sneaky link. However, people are already pointing out that they are literally her own shoes. At this point, we genuinely don't even know where this story's headed anymore. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts on the situation. And once again, please do not send hate or harassment toward anyone involved. What happens when a simple crush turns into something much deeper, something obsessive?
I have had a crush on Will Gold since 2019 when I heard him laugh in the background of someone else's video, and it felt like life itself leaned in to listen.
Because sometimes admiration doesn't just stay admiration, it crosses a line. And that's exactly what seems to be happening with a creator known as Tyler Catastrophe. He's been going viral recently for his dangerous and blind obsession with a micro-celebrity.
I said I have a crush on a guy in a band who I do not know and have met.
YouTube creators are making videos on his degeneracy, Reddit threads are discussing him endlessly, and TikTok is blowing up with Tyler Catastrophe memes. He didn't just become a fan of Wilbur Soot, he built an entire reality around him. From auditioning for his band to moving all the way to England just to be closer to him, Tyler has taken what looks like a normal internet crush and pushed it into something much more intense. But here's where things start to get uncomfortable. Despite serious allegations and even Wilbur himself admitting to his ex, Tyler continues to defend him, standing by him no matter what. So now the question isn't just about being a fan anymore. It's about what happens when obsession goes too far, and whether Tyler has already crossed that line. In this video, we'll tell you everything you need to know about Tyler Catastrophe and his disturbing obsession with Wilbur Soot. Now, before we get into the actual drama, we need to set the stage, because this whole situation revolves around two people. First up is, of course, Tyler Catastrophe. We don't actually know his full name, but based on his Instagram, he also goes by T.A. Salona, so it's safe to say his surname might be Salona, or at least that's the identity he's putting forward online. Tyler started posting content around 2023 on TikTok and YouTube, and since then he's built up a following of roughly 67,000 on TikTok. His bio on TikTok reads, "Haver of skills, maker of things, doer of stuff," which sounds impressive until you realize it tells you absolutely nothing. However, here's what his online presence tells us. He's a 27-year-old disabled transgender creator who in the beginning made fairly harmless low-stakes content. Nothing groundbreaking, just your standard internet. However, we do admit that his cringiness is not something that he evolved into. He's always been pretty cringe. Too cringe, to be honest. So, yeah. He also runs a small jewelry business on the side, which adds to the whole creative, wholesome internet guy image he seems to lean into. We actually took a look at his online shop, and to be fair, there are some genuinely solid pieces in there. Some of the handmade chokers in particular are actually pretty impressive. You can tell there's real effort and creativity put into them. Now the paintings, slightly more hit or miss. So credit where it's due. Outside of all the chaos and controversy, there is a creative side to Tyler that's actually kind of interesting, which honestly just makes the whole situation even more frustrating to watch. He's also a supporter of the queer community, and that's really how he presents himself. Someone kind, community-oriented, supportive of social causes, the type of creator who wants to give back and stand on a side of issues. We may just look at how he talks about completely normal things like he's delivering a sermon and saying something really profound.
Yes, it was only 2 weeks, but it was enough to give me at least a rudimentary understanding of how to move through the country, of how the people interact with each other, of what I can expect while I'm there. And those 2 weeks that I spent in England is the only time in my 26 years of life that something in me just settled. I can't describe that feeling to you because it was...
But if you open his TikTok now, that image feels a little less polished. These days his page is filled with responses, defending himself, addressing criticism, and pushing back against a wave of hate that's come his way. And to be clear, the level of harassment he's getting, threats, mass hate, all of that, is completely out of line. That kind of behavior says more about the internet than it does about him. However, people don't usually attract this level of backlash out of nowhere. And to understand all of this, we need to talk about the second key figure in this story, Wilbur Soot, also known as Will Gold. Now, if you've never heard of him before, Wilbur is somewhat of a micro-celebrity in the British internet scene. He's the lead singer of the indie band Lovejoy, a band that, depending on who you ask, is either genuinely loved or very passionately disliked. There's really no in-between. His full name is William Patrick Gold, and before his music career, He built most of his popularity as a Twitch streamer and content creator. That's where a huge chunk of his fanbase comes from, which later carried over into his music career. But his career hasn't exactly been smooth sailing. In February 2023, his then-girlfriend Shelby Grace, also known online as Shubble, publicly accused him of abuse. And what made the situation even more shocking and frankly bizarre was the nature of the allegations. According to her, one of the ways he would hurt her was through biting. Yeah, biting.
He knew he was hurting me. There was no way that he didn't know because of the safe word that he made. And he just didn't care. He was hurting me and he didn't care.
As you can imagine, this led to a massive wave of controversy, backlash, and ongoing debate across the internet. It's one of those situations that people still bring up whenever his name comes into conversation. Now, we'll get into that in more detail as the story unfolds, but for now, let's bring the focus back to Tyler. Because if you've seen any of the viral videos or threads about him, you already know this. Tyler and Wilbur are now completely intertwined in the public eye. And it all really starts with one specific video. The one where Tyler openly admits he has a crush on Wilbur, which by the way still exists on his account, but doesn't have any audio. He posted the video in February of this year with the caption saying, "Does this count as event post? Because I feel like it's event post." Thankfully though, the internet does what the internet does best. Nothing stays lost for long. And in this case, we found this clip where one can find anything, Reddit. So in this video, Tyler openly confesses that he has a crush on Wilbur Soot.
I have had a crush on Will Gold since 2019 when I heard him laugh in the background of someone else's video and it felt like life itself leaned in to listen. Which is really inconvenient for me because I am very much a one soul at a time kind of person, so once I develop a crush, virtually no one else stands a chance ever. And at the time, I had just broken off a terrible engagement to a guy who didn't even fucking like me. And since then, I have only briefly dated one other person, who was wonderful, but it didn't work out. And so in all of that time, regardless of how many people have tried and been interested in me, I have not been able to find the interest for any single one of them, because I have a fucking crush on a guy I have interacted with once, and I don't even officially know his sexuality. That's a whole other thing, and I have tried so hard to move on from this, to let it go, because I want so badly for it not to cross over into parasocial territory. But in like the 7 minutes that we spoke to each other, one, every time we made eye contact, I thought my heart was gonna fucking burst out of my chest and fly away. Two, I was so nervous that my head just shut off and my mouth had a mind of its own. And anyone who knows me and has ever met me knows that I don't get nervous about people.
But it's not framed like a typical fan admiration. He presents it more like an opportunity, like he genuinely believes he has a chance. He talks about it as if the worst possible outcome is simply Wilbur not responding or saying no.
And all of this is made worse because I have been recognized at every single concert I've been to in the past year and a half, including 2 of his. And I've been on the Lovejoy Nation podcast twice. So no matter how many times I try to sweep this out of the rug and move on with my life, there's always that little thing in the back of my head saying, there's a non-zero chance. Oh my god. So basically, the way I see it, I finally say fuck it. I make this video, I say it all out loud to the ether that is the internet. Worst case scenario, he sees it, he says, hey, not for me. I move on with my life, it's fine. I'm an adult, who cares? I'll take a no over uncertainty any day of the week. Neutral option, nothing happens. Oh well, I guess. Best case scenario, you know? Because honestly, it doesn't matter what I'm doing any day ever for the rest of my life. If he was like, hey, do you want to get dinner or something? I'd say yes, obviously. I'm delusional, it's fine. But at this point, I'm just so over the not doing anything about the things that I want, you know? What's up with that? No one gets anywhere that way. So fuck it. I've said it out loud. What else is there to do at 9 p.m. on a... Is it Friday? I think it's Friday. Anyway.
A very optimistic take, in hindsight almost painfully so, because as we now know, things escalated far beyond anything he seemed to expect. Tyler also mentions that he met Wilbur Soot only once in person, and describes that moment as something that completely shifted him emotionally. From that point onward, he claims he became addicted and deeply fixated on him.
And 4, he failed to take a selfie with me because he was operating on, like, iPhone settings and I have an Android, and I accidentally called him adorable, and immediately wanted to swallow my fucking tongue. Because you don't flirt with people when they're working. That's rude. I paid to... I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, and my point is, it's a whole thing that I would like to no longer have to deal with.
Now, to be fair, what he's describing could very easily be interpreted as being starstruck, that overwhelming feeling when you meet someone you admire and your brain basically short circuits a bit. But Tyler doesn't frame it that way. In his mind, it's something deeper. He interprets that one interaction as something that pulled him out of depression, out of stagnation, and even inspired him to start creating music again.
And at the time, I had just broken off a terrible engagement to a guy who didn't even fucking like me. And since then, I have only briefly dated one other person, who was wonderful, but it didn't work out. And so in all of that time, regardless of how many people have tried and been interested in me, I have not been able to find the interest for any single one of them. Because I have a fucking crush on a guy I have interacted with once. And I don't even officially know his sexuality. That's a whole other thing. And I have tried. I have tried so hard to move on from this, to let it go, because I want so badly for it not to cross over into parasocial territory. But in like the 7 minutes that we spoke to each other, one, every time we made eye contact, I thought my heart was gonna fucking burst out of my chest and fly away. Two, I was so nervous that my head just shut off and my mouth had a mind of its own. And anyone who knows me and has ever met me knows that I don't get nervous about people. What the hell was that? Three, he somehow managed to make me want to write music again, something I have not done since my last band broke up in 2019 and I got hit by a car and couldn't sing anymore. And I can sing again now. It took several years, but I got it back because I'm amazing. But how dare you pull my spark back out from underneath the ashes I spent years burying it under because it hurt too much to think about. In like 2 sentences. It's rude.
Music, which according to a lot of people watching this unfold, is debatable in quality at best.
So if you care to find me, look to the western sky. As someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. And if I'm flying so low, at least I'm flying free.
So yeah, there is that. Tyler, however, seems completely convinced of his own talent. He speaks about his abilities with a level of confidence that's hard to ignore, almost as if there's no comparison at all to anyone else, whether it's his diabolical singing or his looks.
This is a long intro for TikTok, but we commit over here, so listen to it. It's amazing. I love this song. Shit. I feel like I'm gonna do the Macarena. Anyway.
I mean, he genuinely thinks that he is the hottest, and let's not get started on his thirst traps.
Oh, really? Oh, in the months that you know me, you've never seen me act this way? Hey, no offense, Emily, but you don't really know what you're talking about, do you?
Honestly, that's part of what makes the whole situation so strange to watch. It's simultaneously a bit admirable in its self-belief and also kind of unintentionally comedic. Now, we're not saying that he shouldn't have this confidence, but there is a slight difference between confidence and just diabolical delusions. For example, there's another video where he talks about how he used to be an extremely attractive woman, and then he casually pulls up a picture of a fairly basic-looking girl as proof, which honestly, we don't know how to react.
This is what I looked like in college. That hair went down to my thighs. I used to wear like 5 to 6 inch heels every day. Also, not for nothing, the wing on that eyeliner is not the filter. Fun fact. But I was thinking...
But I'm just the same. I've got a boring name. Across the board of what you want and what you came here for. So I'm waiting for you. So please just let me.
And it doesn't even stop there. Tyler has also claimed that people would come up to him all the time and say he looked like what they imagined Jolene from Jolene by Dolly Parton would look like.
When I was in college, random people used to come up to me on the street and tell me that the way that I looked is how they pictured Jolene from the Dolly Parton song Jolene. And before you call bullshit, let me just tell you,
it's the kind of moment that's less, wow, confidence, and more, okay, interesting interpretation of events. And look, that's not even the worst thing on his page. If you scroll through his content, it's basically a non-stop compilation of moments that sits somewhere between cringe, overconfidence, and completely unfiltered self-belief. This whole page is like a case study in second-hand embarrassment. And to be fair, none of that alone is really cancel-worthy. It's the internet. Plenty of people are awkward, overconfident, or unintentionally funny online. And in a strange way, there's something almost endearing about someone genuinely believing in themselves that much, even when it doesn't fully match how others see them. The issue starts when that level of belief crosses into something more concerning, when perception stops being flexible. Because at this point, the problem isn't just confidence, it's the inability to separate admiration from reality. And that becomes especially important when you consider who he's talking about.
Let's be honest, most men aren't taught how to take care of themselves in their living spaces. And for men in their early 20s, that's a lot worse than it should be.
Because how long are we as people going to sit in this place where we treat every mistake as if it makes us irredeemable? And sure, people should face consequences for their actions, but if those consequences are not put in place as a lesson to be better and learn from those actions in the future, then those aren't consequences, those are punishment. And no one learns from punishment. Day in and day out, you hear, oh, people don't change, people never change, but they do. Every day, everything changes. Change is the closest thing we have to a universal constant. But the most important part of that puzzle is that you have to let people change. You have to acknowledge the ability to change. You have to acknowledge the change in itself. Are they really incapable of changing, or are you just not letting them? Have they really never changed, or are you just not acknowledging that they already have? Because if you're going to call someone out for their behavior, you have to be willing to let them change the behavior. Because if you don't, you may as well just admit to yourself and everyone around you that you're not interested in people being better. You just want to watch more people burn.
The person at the center of all this isn't just a random creator. It's someone with a heavily publicized and controversial history, including serious allegations that have been widely discussed online. And this is where things get complicated, because we've seen this pattern before on the internet. People become so emotionally invested in a figure or so committed to a narrative that they start filtering out anything that doesn't fit in. Take Jeremy Meeks or Cameron Herron, for example, both criminals who people thought were hot. In fact, a lot of people argued that Cameron shouldn't have been charged at all because of how hot he was. Well, that was pretty insane too. But things are different with Tyler. Tyler has on multiple occasions claimed that he himself is a victim of abuse. He also frequently speaks about empathy, accountability, and how the first instinct should always be to believe victims. On paper, he positions himself as someone very socially aware, someone who understands these dynamics deeply and is outspoken about social issues. But when it comes to the allegations surrounding Wilbur Soot, his stance shifts completely.
I'm going to say something very important, and then I'm going to follow it with however. And I know the second I say that word, a lot of people are going to tune me out, but I'm asking you so nicely to keep listening. Okay. Believe victims, believe survivors. However, as a victim myself, as a survivor myself, what we should be saying when we say those words is believe victims, believe survivors first. Because the unfortunate truth is that just because you would never lie about something so important does not mean that no one would. Because blindly believing people like me can still be a bad thing.
See, instead of applying the same framework he uses elsewhere, he has repeatedly denied the claims very strongly, not just questioning them, but dismissing them outright.
Do you know there's a difference between embarrassing and morally wrong, right? They're not the same thing. Because, oh my god, it is so not that serious.
And this is where people started pointing out a major contradiction, because in doing so, he's also referenced his own past experiences and trauma as a way to argue that what was being described doesn't qualify as abuse in his view. The problem with that logic is fairly obvious. Personal experience can shape empathy, but it doesn't get to override someone else's account of what they went through. And online, that contradiction didn't go unnoticed. What makes it more complicated is that Tyler's interest in Wilbur isn't new or reactionary. This isn't someone who became involved after hearing allegations. It goes back further. He'd been trying to get Wilbur's attention for a long time, including multiple attempts to audition for Lovejoy. And yes, clips from those auditions are still circulating.
I have absolutely no idea if one of my favorite bands might want a second vocalist, but I do know I am crazy enough to ask. So hi, Lovejoy! Do you want a second vocalist? My name is Tyler Solona, I'm 26 years old, I live in Texas, but I'm trying to move to England anyway. I'm a massive extrovert, I've been performing since I was 10, and in 2019 I was actually a semi-professional vocalist. but then had to spend almost 5 years getting my voice back after losing it completely because someone hit me with their car. Through the sheer force of audacious determination, I now have my voice back and my vocal stamina. Which basically means that now that I can go back to music, not doing so makes everything else feel unfulfilling and sad. I figured I might as well shoot my shot. And I also play the trumpet, which is probably helpful. Anyway, here's Portrait of a Blank Slate. The whole thing. I hope you like it. I mean, you probably like it already, let's be honest. It is your song.
This was one of the first few videos of him that went viral, and the band Lovejoy actually liked this video. There was also that one early interaction, his meeting with Wilbur at a meet and greet, that he continues to reference repeatedly. A moment that for most people would be a brief fan encounter, for him became something much more significant in his personal narrative. Now let's talk about how things really started to spiral, because Tyler's obsessive crush over Wilbur Soot was already crossing into parasocial territory, but that wasn't even the main issue. The real problem is everything that came after. All the videos Tyler has uploaded since then, constantly defending Wilbur, doubling down and inserting himself into the situation, have only made things worse. Not just for himself, but for Wilbur as well. And honestly, it's uncomfortable to watch. It comes across as embarrassing, excessive, and seriously concerning. But before we go further into that, you guys need some context, because a lot of people aren't just reacting to Tyler, they're reacting to what Wilbur himself has been accused of and admitted to. So here's what happened. Wilbur Soot was in a relationship with a streamer named Shovel. From the outside, everything seemed normal. They looked like a serious couple. But in February 2023, things changed. During a stream, Shovel shared something that people haven't forgotten since. She said that Wilbur would bite her. At first, she didn't think much of it, but over time it got worse and worse, to the point where they had to establish a safe word. And even then, according to her, he didn't respect it. She claimed that he would continue ignoring the safe word and kept hurting her repeatedly.
When I hear about physical abuse, I think of hitting. I think of hitting and punching. So I thought that this wasn't violent enough to be abuse, and I thought he was being sweet, checking on me to make sure that I was still comfortable. But of course I was, because he hadn't hurt me. And why would I think he ever would? And then he did, for the first time, by accident. And I don't specifically remember the actual first time that he bit me too hard by accident, because I didn't think that it would be significant. I thought that it would only happen once. And he started biting me more and more over a period of time, sort of throughout the whole relationship, and accidents of him biting too hard and really hurting me happened more and more frequently. He seemed genuinely sorry, and he decided that he didn't want to keep accidentally hurting me, so we were going to use a safe word, so he could learn where my limit was, where my pain tolerance ended. And saying that out loud now doesn't sound like that's not very sound logic. But at the time I thought he cared about not hurting me. But in reality, it's like, why are you biting so hard? And why do you have to bite?
Now, a lot of people online have tried to downplay it, but this kind of behavior falls under abuse. Deliberately hurting someone, especially after they've clearly withdrawn consent and used a safe word, crosses a very clear line. It's not just weird or toxic, it's a violation of boundaries, and something that can escalate into much more serious harm over time. But that wasn't the only thing she accused him of. According to Shovel, Wilbur didn't just cross physical boundaries, she also claimed that he used her. She described how his living conditions were extremely messy. He wouldn't clean, wouldn't do his laundry, and instead would wait for her to come over, just so she could take care of things around the house. And what made it worse, she said that he admitted later to a friend that he was using her for chores.
He lived in filth, like I have never seen. And I've seen filth. This was the worst. He would spill things on the floor and never, literally never, clean them up. He got an ant infestation once, and wasn't going to do anything about it because he said, bugs are normal in British houses, so I had to buy ant killer. And he wouldn't clean his bathroom for months and months and months, but would constantly complain about how bad it smelled, and I would tell him that's mold. It's mold. He complained about being tired all the time too, which I don't know if that was a lie or not, but mold will do that too. But he would insist that it wasn't, somehow, without having cleaned in months, but it's not mold. When I met him, he was washing his clothes without detergent. Just wasn't using that at all, and I don't know for how long before I met him. He was just running it with water and then hanging it on his filthy kitchen cabinets. And I felt bad. I felt bad because I felt like he needed someone to help him learn how to be cleaner. I thought he just didn't know how. And I listened to all of the struggles of his upbringing, and I was like, he just doesn't know how. Someone just needs to show him. And then I found out that he said he doesn't clean at all when I'm not there because he just waits for me to get there to do it. And I only found out about that after we broke up because he said it behind my back. I was doing all of the cleaning and laundry.
And to top it all off, this guy proudly flaunted the bruises on Shovel's body that he caused to his friends.
And he even felt so comfortable showing off my bruises that he had caused to our friends because he would bite me so hard by accident. By accident, he would even joke that it looked like he abused me. And eventually he did acknowledge how bad it looked.
So yeah, it wasn't just one issue. It painted a much bigger picture. But here's where things get frustrating, because according to Tyler, none of this is a big deal. He brushed it off as boys being boys, even defending the behavior and claiming there's no real proof that any abuse actually happened.
I also know that if I post this video, there will probably be a lot of people who don't know me who see it. So I'm going to try to be as kind, direct, and clear-cut as I can. So I'm going to stick to 3 main points from Shovel's VODs. Please go and watch them yourself. You are under no obligation to think the way that I do. And then I'm going to touch on Wilbur's response. And then I think the general response needs to be addressed as well. Because Shovel's main points were that Wilbur was a slob, had a messy house, that she paid for a lot of her way to see him, and that he bit her. For point 1, let's be honest, most men aren't taught how to take care of themselves in their living spaces. And for men in their early 20s, that's a lot worse than it should be. Every man I dated in their late teens, early 20s was gross. That's just kind of par for the course. It's sucks, but it is to be expected. And it is not, by default, malicious. 2, paying your own way, especially for a distance like that, is kind of expected. And when you take into account that they were both very successful in their respective careers at that point, paying your own expenses isn't, by default, malicious. And for the 3rd point, Shovel states very clearly in her follow-up VOD that she consented to the biting. She then went on to clarify that what she had an issue with was the fact that it hurt. And while I don't think anyone should be hurt in their relationships, at the end of the day, that is a communication issue. And whether it's just a poor communication or lack thereof, both parties are responsible for that. Because a lack of communication or poor communication on either side is not, by default, malicious. And at the end of the day...
So yeah, in Tyler's eyes, Wilbur Soot is completely innocent. No wrongdoing, no accountability, nothing. Him not seeing her on dates or even making time to see her is somehow completely normal. His messy and moldy house is just how boys are. And the biting, according to him, doesn't even qualify as abuse. However, the reality is a bit different. You see, back in 2023, when all of this first came out, Wilbur himself posted a statement. And instead of clearing things up, it made things worse. His statement was widely criticized as a non-apology because while addressing the situation, he essentially admitted that the biting did happen, framing it in a way that many people found dismissive and inappropriate. Now, we won't be reading this whole thing, but here's what he had to say about the biting. The allegations of abuse, particularly in the form of biting, deeply shocked me. Throughout our relationship, I understood from numerous conversations and text message exchanges on the subject that this behavior was consensual, playful, and reciprocally enjoyed. Then the only form of apology he offered read, I recognize that this person has processed and expressed feelings of hurt. I want to extend my sincerest apologies for any pain that I've caused. Honestly, it's kind of alarming how both he and Tyler seem to misunderstand something as basic as consent. Consent isn't a one-time arrangement. It has to be clearly established before any physical or sexual interaction, and more importantly, it can be taken back at any time. And that's the part people keep ignoring. Just because Shovel may have initially agreed to something like biting, that doesn't mean it can't cross into abuse. The moment boundaries are pushed, ignored, or a safe word isn't respected, that's no longer consensual. That's where the line is. And it's honestly exhausting that something this basic still needs to be explained. Unsurprisingly, people were furious after that so-called apology from Wilbur Soot. In fact, some people online went as far as breaking it down line by line, literally annotating his statement and pointing out everything that was wrong with it, showing how it could have and should have been handled better. Because instead of a clear apology, it came across as him treating something serious as if it were mutual or misunderstood, without properly acknowledging the harm. One person on Twitter wrote, "You started this off defending yourself by claiming that you've changed, making it about you, then left the most simple yet most important thing for last, an apology. And even then your apology isn't an apology. You left it at, for any pain I have caused, which lacks any accountability. However, a more direct admission didn't come until the following year, when Wilbur uploaded a video addressing everything.
There's been a lot of different clashing labels and opinions about me on the internet over the past year, the loudest of which on both sides of the fence have been quite unhealthy, stemming from accusations made about me from just over a year ago. And look, I'm not here to drop any bombshells. I don't want to reopen any old discussions. I responded to the situation in February of last year, and I still stand by everything I said in that statement. I understand it was misinterpreted by some people, probably due to my wording, and I know some people are still looking for clarity, especially nowadays where personal transparency is more common amongst content creators than it's ever been before. However, this clarity, the clarity I've offered to my close friends and my family, would mean publicly sharing deeply personal parts of my private life and my relationships with the internet. I've never been comfortable doing that, and I don't believe that should be the cost of being understood. All I can say is that the labels that have been attributed to me by social media are not true, and I don't accept them. I don't believe in this expectation that content creators should use their platforms to attack and defend, and I definitely don't think that's how serious accusations should be handled. I felt this way for a really long time now, having seen other content creators go through similar situations, and I know it's not a perspective that's going to satisfy everyone, but it's one I can get behind, and I hope that makes sense to you. None of this is me trying to dig up or dwell on the past here. I would just feel very strange if I carried on without at least acknowledging the past year, because all I can do now is move forward, and I hope you enjoy what I've been working on.
And this video was every bit as horrible as his tweet, but by that point, the conversation had already shifted. Instead of focusing on the apology, people started focusing on something else entirely: his health. Viewers began pointing out how different he looked, how much weight he seemed to have lost, and speculation quickly spread online. Some even started suggesting drug use. Now, to be clear, there is no confirmed evidence for that. But just for the context, this is Will in 2023 versus now. And one more thing that came up while researching Wilbur Soot is his interesting habit of biting people around him. There are clips and conversations where his friends casually talk about it, like it's just a quirky little personality trait, that he would bite them, and apparently just about anyone.
Tell them about how awful I am to you.
To me?
Yeah.
He keeps biting me.
Yeah.
Are you just wondering what I'm streaming?
I can't hear you over the Hoover, what'd you say?
Actually, Will bites me sometimes, and I get so many bruises all the time from him biting me.
I thought you were saying that you bite people.
No, Will bites me.
Wilbur Soot has bitten me harder than that.
Yeah.
He just bites everyone. He'd bite you.
He never bit me when I met him.
He would.
For the record, here are some of his biting videos, because yes, this was somehow a recurring thing.
Wilbur Soot give you a worse abomination. Man. Please take me home. Oh, no, it's not content.
No, I can't. I'm not sure. No, I don't know.
There's been a robber. What this means is unfathomable for the community. No.
This is what you've been waiting for.
But the situation with Shubble wasn't the only time Wilbur Soot was accused of something like this. Not long after her story came out, another person who claimed to have dated Wilbur back in 2019 also came forward and shared her experience publicly, and this time the accusations were even worse. She described how even in the beginning everything felt perfect. He was attentive, affectionate, and constantly showing love, which many people would describe as love bombing. But over time things changed. She claimed that he became dismissive, started disrespecting her, and even asked her to keep their relationship a secret, expecting her to sit quietly while he streamed, almost like she wasn't supposed to exist publicly. She also said he would ignore her struggles, constantly shifting the focus back into himself and his own problems. And once again, the biting was mentioned, but the most disturbing allegation, according to her, happened after their breakup. She said that in 2021, they met again for what was supposed to be closure. But during that meeting, she alleged that he got her intoxicated, brought her back to his place, and then removed her clothes when she was not in a position to consent. Now this is a very serious accusation, and even if a fraction of this is true, it paints a deeply troubling picture because it suggests that the issue isn't just a one-time incident. It points toward a pattern of behavior, a pattern that directly contradicts the image many people had of him. As she herself expressed, the version of him that fans saw, the soft, kind, creative personality, was very different from what she claims was happening behind the scenes. And yet, despite all of this, there are still people defending him. Still, people are refusing to question it, and one of the loudest among them is Tyler. So let's get back on track. Even after all of this, the accusations, the statements, and the public backlash, Tyler remained completely convinced that Wilbur did nothing wrong. He continued defending him, continued supporting him, and even continued expressing his feelings for him.
I know that Benadryl May threatened to simp on Maine last night, but honestly, today May's got... I need that man to put his face on my face. Just... You know? See, I am running on about 2.5 hours of sleep because maintenance was supposed to be here at 9 a.m. and I've been awake till at least 3 a.m. every single night for the past month and a half because I have shit to do. And it is now 12:24 in the afternoon. I'm tired. I am overstimulated. I can't sit still and focus long enough to do the work I need to do. I've been scrolling and doing dumb shit because when I called the office, they said, oh, they'll be here sometime today, after she got done pretending she didn't know who the fuck I was. I've lived here 1.5 years. You literally told me to my face that I was one of your favorite tenants, and I was in the office 2 days ago picking up a filter for this apartment. Don't fuck with me. So if you see me accidentally repost an edit of a man, mind your business. I don't even care anymore. I am not embarrassed. I will unprivate my simp videos. Don't test me. I am gay and I'm an adult. And I'm allowed. Truly. I'm so tired. I hate it here. His fucking laugh and his eyes and that face and just, oh my god.
And then things took an even more concerning turn because Tyler eventually announced that he would be moving from Texas all the way to England, specifically to the place where Wilbur lives.
Hi, my name is Tyler and I'm currently in the process of using my beaded jewelry as a means to move all the way from Texas to England. Point.
And naturally, people were alarmed because out of nowhere, Tyler announces that he's moving countries, specifically to the place where Wilbur Soot lives. And people started asking the obvious question. Is this just a coincidence, or is there something more going on here? Some even began speculating, could this turn into stalking? But Tyler quickly shut all of that down. He claimed that this wasn't about Wilbur at all. According to him, moving to England was something he had always wanted to do, and he even tried to make it happen years before.
Seeing the guy moving halfway around the world just to be closer to a YouTuber? If y'all think I would make a massive, life-altering decision that takes years of work to achieve, just because I was willing to admit on the internet that I think a musician I don't know has a pretty laugh, then y'all really have the wrong idea.
Sure, but then things started to look a little off, because around the same time, Tyler went all in on TikTok. He set up a GoFundMe and began asking people to financially support his move. And it wasn't just a one-time thing. He kept posting, repeatedly, updating people on the move, talking about the fundraiser, pushing it constantly, almost like he was trying really hard to make this happen as quickly as possible.
Hey, could y'all maybe do me a favor real quick and blow this up because it's really important to me? Yeah? Okay.
And according to his GoFundMe page, he managed to raise a significant amount of money, getting close to his overall goal, a total of $22,000, which only made people question things even more. Because now, it wasn't just about an idea anymore. It was actually becoming real. And when you combine that with his constant defense of Wilbur, his emotional attachment, and now physically moving closer, it starts to paint a picture that a lot of people found genuinely concerning. And that's when things escalated even further, because Tyler didn't just defend Wilbur quietly. He went public with it, posting multiple videos, doubling down on his stance, and continuing to justify everything. So now we're going to take a look at some of those videos.
Cancel culture is bullshit. And I'm not talking about holding people accountable for their awful actions, because obviously we should be doing that. I'm talking about how many people are training their audiences to be internet attack dogs, which is not cool. And right now, it's really hard to be on the internet. Feels like every other day we're getting someone who's secretly a terrible person. But I'm starting to realize that a lot of people don't know the difference between fucking up and abusing people. And as someone who has been abused, kind of a lot, I'm going to explain the difference. Because if you don't know the difference, there are a lot of people who will try to use you as a weapon against the people they don't like. And I don't know about you, but I don't like being used for anything. So if you find yourself asking, is this person an abuser, or did they just fuck fuck up somehow, here are some questions that you should always ask. The first question's a little gray, but it has to do with intention. Did they knowingly hurt you on purpose? And if you know for a fact that they did it on purpose, then yeah, that person sucks, they're an abuser. But if you can't be sure they knew they were hurting you, you have to ask yourself another question. This one's a two-parter. One, did you tell them it hurt you? Because if you didn't, I'm sorry, you have to. You can't assume they know unless you tell them. But after you tell them, you have to ask, how did they respond to you telling them? Did they get angry? Did they blame you? Did they hurt you more? Did they try to shut you up somehow? Then yeah, unfortunately, probably an abuser. Or did they find out that they hurt you and apologize? Did they validate your feelings? Did they promise to change? Did they make genuine efforts to better themselves towards you and people around them? Because in that case, they're probably just someone who fucked up. And I'm not giving you this information because I think that someone specific deserves to be absolved of all crimes or something. I'm giving you this information because as someone who has been abused more times than I'd like to tell you about, I still believe that everyone deserves a chance to be forgiven. And with all the time and energy we spend hoping people in our lives will change, you cannot hope for that without allowing them to change when they realize they've fucked up. And if you want people to be better, you have to let them try to be. And unfortunately, the elephant in many of these discussions is that it's really easy to lie. And also, it's really easy for someone to vastly exaggerate when they're mad at someone. That's just humans at this point. So if someone you don't know on the internet is telling you something about someone else you don't know on the internet, please just take a step back, take a deep breath, ask yourself some questions, because chances are you don't have all the information, and it's okay to wait to form an opinion until you do have more information. I know no one tells you this very often, but making a snap judgment immediately is dangerous for a lot of people. So don't be an internet attack dog for people you don't know, especially if you're a teenager. I promise you're gonna regret that later. Be kind to each other. Think critically.
And trust us when we say that this is just one video from a long list of videos uploaded by Tyler, all trying to explain to people what abuse is and what someone would do to be qualified as an abuser. In his opinion, his own abuse somehow becomes the standard because he's been in a similar situation in the past. He's suddenly the authority on the topic, some kind of wisdom god who gets to decide what counts as abuse and what doesn't for everyone else. Well, sorry to inform you, Tyler, you don't know what other people go through, and your own experiences don't give you the authority to decide whether someone else has been abused or not. And it's honestly quite disgusting how he openly continues to defend Wilbur Soot. For instance, in his videos, he's completely ignorant, while still shamelessly supporting Lovejoy's new music like nothing ever happened.
Lovejoy has finally released the full version of All Look Good When I'm Sober, and I am over the moon. Great band, it's a great song, and I've been waiting for so long. Bars! Before the comments start rolling in, I am fully aware of the situation. I've already made my opinion on that very clear. Not because I dismissed it or didn't take it seriously, but because I did take it seriously, and I formed an opinion on it. Anyway, I'm the kind of person when I see people being hated on in a way that I think is unfair, I will make a point to leave positive comments whenever possible. I do it because I want to, because it's fun for me, because I enjoy being in positivity in a pool of yeah. And right now there are a lot of other unrelated things making me angry, so it is taking a little bit more mental energy to not pop off at people. I just have to remind myself that they don't actually care. They just want to feel justified in being a dick. And honestly, who am I to give them more opportunities to do so? No thanks. But it is kind of ridiculous how parasocial people get. I've been to abandoned orphanages that felt less creepy than my comment section sometimes, and I've been to abandoned mental health facilities that felt less sinister. College was an interesting time for me. Anyway, I love the song. It was worth the wait, and I hope their new shows go well, because they deserve it. I also hope they're a lot more kind to themselves than the internet wants them to be, because, again, they deserve it. Anyway, live that Lovejoy. Okay, Lovejoy, bye. Lovejoy, bye. That was more...
I mean, it's one thing to like a band that's associated with someone accused of serious behavior, and it's a completely different thing to be this stubborn and insensitive about what that person has been accused of. And then there's this video where he straight up says that people aren't going to change if the world doesn't give them a chance to change, as if that somehow excuses everything.
Better on an individual level, because at that point it's not about holding people accountable, it's about you getting to be a dick. The video this comment is on is about how I do not think that Wilbur Soot is an abuser, and it took a lot for me to post it. I had to think a lot about how to say what I wanted to say, and I was really worried that it would be taken the wrong way, but so far the comments have been super understanding, and I am so grateful for that. But since posting that video, I've seen so many reasons that I needed to post it in the first place. Because how long are we as people going to sit in this place where we treat every mistake as if it makes us irredeemable? And sure, people should face consequences for their actions, but if those consequences are not put in place as a lesson to be better and learn from those actions in the future, then those aren't consequences, those are punishment. And no one learns from punishment. Day in and day out you hear, oh, people don't change, people never change, but they do. Every day, everything changes. Change is the closest thing we have to a universal constant. But the most important part of that puzzle is that you have to let people change. You have to acknowledge the ability to change. You have to acknowledge the change in itself. Are they really incapable of changing, or are you just not letting them? Have they really never changed, or are you just not acknowledging that they already have? Because if you're going to call someone out for their behavior, you have to be willing to let them change the behavior. Because if you don't, you may as well just admit to yourself and everyone around you that you're not interested in people being better. You just want to watch more people burn. And I know someone's gonna call me a stupid fucking optimist again, but nihilism is a cancer, and all it ever does is ensure that nothing ever gets better. And if you want to see a better world than the one that we have right now, you have to acknowledge and allow people to be better on an individual level. Because at that point, it's not about holding people accountable. It's about you getting to be a dick.
Well, we really get the extent to which he's obsessed with Wilbur just by watching these videos, because he simply refuses to accept that Wilbur hasn't really done anything to redeem himself. 2 of his ex-partners have accused him of abuse, and one even alleged that he crossed serious boundaries when she blacked out. And his so-called apology came across to many people as nothing more than victim blaming. Now, we want to walk you through a short timeline of what Tyler said after he uploaded that video admitting his 7-year-long parasocial crush on Wilbur Soot. So yeah, he uploaded that video in February 2026, and the response was immediate. His comment section was flooded with people calling him delusional. We mean one person even pointed out that he's probably not even Wilbur Soot's type, and Tyler's response was, haha, you never know. At this point, it's a whole different level of parasocial. Regardless, let's talk about the video he posted the very next day. In that one, he basically downplayed everything, saying that it's not serious, and that, yeah, it might be embarrassing, but it's not morally wrong.
Do you know there's a difference between embarrassing and morally wrong, right? They're not the same thing. Because, oh my god, it is so not that serious. Is it embarrassing to publicly admit that you have a crush on someone? Yes. Is it also embarrassing to admit the person you have a crush on has a larger following than you do? Yeah, sure. But having a crush and feeling emotions about a person you don't know is not inherently wrong. I'm not out here writing self-insert fanfiction or building a shrine to our love in my fucking closet. I said that I had a crush on a guy who I do not know, and that we met one time, made eye contact, and it gave me butterflies. I said it in a way that wasn't strictly literal, because I'm an artist and a poet, and I like to say the pretty words, and y'all are out here acting like I trained an AI chatbot to talk like him. And for the record, we are strictly against AI in this house, just so you know. But are y'all really so online that you forgot that being human is allowed? Yes, he's successful, and there are other people who want him, and he has a larger following than me, and I've had a crush on him for more than a couple years. But he is just a guy. He is just a guy. And yes, having a crush on him makes it hard for me to have a crush on literally anyone else, because he is proof that all the qualities I want in a partner exist as one coherent person. And why the fuck would I want to settle for someone who doesn't have those qualities when I know that those qualities exist?
So yeah, there's that. He just flat out refuses to accept that this person has done anything wrong. And this reply he made to a comment on his post really says everything about his mindset. Someone commented on his videos saying they don't think Wilbur Soot is a good person. And Tyler replied, it seems like he's making an effort, so I am willing to support. From my perspective, a bad relationship in your 20s shouldn't condemn you for life. And that pretty much sums it up. It's clear that for Tyler, it's all just a bad relationship. But for the rest of us, the sane ones, a bad relationship is when things don't work out, when there are disagreements, negative emotions, maybe even fights. That's a bad relationship. A relationship where someone is consistently hurting, bruising, and crossing boundaries without consent, that's not a bad relationship. That's an abusive one, where one person is clearly the victim. So what exactly is so hard to understand here, Tyler? It's honestly frustrating how he keeps downplaying everything, reducing it to boys being boys or just a few small mistakes, while completely ignoring the seriousness of what's actually being described.
You've been following me for a while. Chances are you actually know who I am, and you don't need to hear this. But for the new people, I have posted thousands of videos over the past, 7 years? About myself, about my work, about the things that I believe in. And sometimes that means saying shit that other people disagree with. And right now, Twitter wants you absolutely obsessed with misinterpreting less than 10 of them. And the thing about trying to tell people who someone is that doesn't really hold up when that person has been showing you who they are for 7 years. And all of those people who want to see you frothing at the mouth, sending hate comments and death threats, do not know who I am.
We agree that a lot of people did not understand who Tyler was before Twitter made him so widely visible. But after looking at his content over 7 years and seeing the sheer volume of discussion around him, we can safely conclude that, yeah, he's got some problems. At the end of the day, that's Tyler's reality, even if he doesn't see it himself. Because in a way, he's not just convinced, he's blinded by it. Blinded by attachment, by admiration, or maybe something he believes is love. Anyway, this whole situation really blew up like nothing else in February of this year, and it hasn't really slowed down since. And then in March, Tyler uploaded another video, this time framed as an update directed at his friends and family.
I am alive. With all of the awful that has happened the past few weeks, I did take some time alone to myself. But now I've had a few too many friends reach out worried about me, so hi, here I am. I'm the kind of person that has been called resilient so many times in my life that I've started hating the word. Because, what other options are there than getting through it? I don't know. But while I've been waiting for the this too shall pass to happen, I've been focusing on my work. I should have another post office run this week. The goal to sell 1,000 bracelets is still in place. And the GoFundMe is basically the only thing I'm hoping for my birthday in April. That and tattoos. Tattoos would be nice. A paid trip to basically anywhere would also be good, but I figure tattoos are more accessible. But seriously, thank you so much for all the kind words and support. I promise I am okay. I am not a danger to myself or others, and I've basically abandoned my DM requests. but I appreciate you all so incredibly much for sticking with me through all of this. Even knowing that I've done nothing wrong, it's still a difficult thing to go through. But as always, we persist. I have work to do. No one else is gonna do it, and I want out of Texas. So of course, links in the clicky thing that you click on, and I will see you all later. Okay, love you, bye. I am so tired. Please order some bracelets so I have more to do. It would be very helpful.
Then by April, people were already making memes about the situation, and also animated edits. And so in April, Tyler uploaded this video.
I am not the one wishing death and torture and rape and worse on someone I do not know just because they said they had a crush. You are. And I am most certainly not the one using AI to try and convince people on the internet that someone I have never interacted with is a pedophile. That's 100% on you. I said that I thought a guy was hot and funny and interesting in a video where I was not strictly literal. And then I said that because I am confident and like myself, that maybe he would like me if he gave me a chance, if he was interested in men, because again, I don't know his sexuality.
Well, for the record, he has been gaining popularity talking to someone else on the internet, and even though he definitely looks like the kind of person who would make second, third, and fourth accounts to stalk Wilbur, he's also considering and trying to physically move to Brighton, where Wilbur lives, to stalk him in real life.
Security is a result of conditioning, and it can be unconditioned. Part of me wanted to use the less pretty snow globes from my collection as a metaphor, about how just because other people might not get it, I know what they've been through, and I know where they came from. And in case you couldn't tell, I just really like words. But honestly, I think I'd rather just say it outright. Insecurity is conditioned into every person from the get-go, for a whole list of social and political reasons.
So yeah, shut up, Tyler. No one wants to hear you yap about social and political conditioning. We mean this guy really fails to understand that he's not so profound. And now he's moving to England, where his so-called ultimate love lives. At this point, we don't really know where this situation is heading, but from everything that's already happened, it definitely doesn't feel like it's slowing down. In fact, it feels like it's only getting more intense. Will he actually reach his goal and move closer to Brighton? And if he does, will he really try to act on all of this in real life? And the bigger question is, will Wilbur Soot ever address any of this directly? For now, all we can do is watch and see how this situation unfolds. When it comes to TikTokers who know how to spin controversies into cash and fame, no one holds a candle to Haylee Baylee. With over 17 million followers on TikTok, a Sports Illustrated swimsuit feature, a spot on the Time 100 creators list, and multiple endorsements from international companies, Haylee sure has a successful platform. And the most impressive part, she only became an influencer in 2022. She started with funny, sarcastic, and relatable videos.
You know, one day I'm gonna die. Mom!
So naturally, it didn't take long for her account to gain traction. Haylee became one of the most well-known influencers on TikTok. But behind the fame and love of her adoring fans, people began to uncover a disturbing pattern. It started small with accusations like content theft.
Haylee Baylee, please stop copying my videos. So you guys all know my award-winning video about Jackbox that I posted on January 8th. And look at this. This was posted a day ago. This one's not even funny.
But it's TikTok and everyone steals from everyone, so that didn't raise too many red flags. Things started getting a little more serious during the 2024 Met Gala when Haylee posted the controversial Let Them Eat Cake video that led to a mass unfollowing, not just of Haylee, but of almost every celebrity who turned a blind eye to the war in Gaza. She did what other influencers did when they got called out and posted an apology, but it didn't get the reaction she was expecting.
Popular TikToker Haylee Baylee is being canceled for her apology video. Now initially she was being canceled for a video she posted at the Met Gala where she used the saying, "Let them eat cake," which people took to mean, hey look, I'm rich and you're poor.
Of course, the fact that the apology video was 8 minutes long and attracted millions of views and comments was just a bonus for her. Still, Haylee survived that scandal, and her audience continued to grow, but it didn't stop there. 2 years later, in 2026, Haylee was sued by her ex-husband for revealing details about their sex life and making a joke about the size of his penis.
All good, like...
Totally fine. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
great. I mean,
okay.
like, average, like...
No, yeah.
All the way from, like, yeah, but totally fine.
Okay.
No, he was just...
Yeah,
like, it's like two Coke cans stacked on top of each other. Maybe even a third type shit. Yeah. Like, he has a... Okay, wait, I'm gonna type it in here.
Yeah, chill.
Now, you may be thinking it's just a simple statement, or it was a compliment and not such a big deal, but I'll explain why it led to a lawsuit and major backlash in a minute. The most shocking part of this video is that the comment about her ex and the lawsuit that followed isn't the most disturbing thing I learned about Haylee. The more I researched, the more I understood why people are calling for her cancellation. But before I dive in, let me give you a little backstory about her. Haylee was born on August 6, 1992 in Minnesota. She entered the pageant circuit early, and she competed well. She won the Miss Minnesota title and went on to compete in Miss USA, placing in the top 20. Eventually, she transitioned into modeling, worked her way up, and eventually landed a feature in Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition, a benchmark in that industry. But the modeling career ran parallel to something else. At just 21 years old, Haylee married Matthew Khalil, a former NFL offensive lineman. By her own account, they had been dating for roughly 6 months before they got married. The marriage lasted until 2022 when they filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. By every account Haylee gave publicly, the split was amicable, more than amicable.
Just stay friends. So we ended up getting a divorce. And thankfully, because we were friends, the divorce was really easy. There wasn't any fighting, there wasn't any arguing. Even while we were getting divorced, we continued just to hang out as friends.
She spoke about Matt with warmth. She said he was supportive. She said he helped her even after the divorce, co-leasing an apartment with her in New York City and keeping her on his phone plan. And she made something very clear in multiple videos over the years. Matt valued his privacy. She wanted the internet to stay out of it. She asked repeatedly and emphasized it every time his name came up adjacent to anything she posted. In late 2025, Haylee collaborated with a Twitch streamer named Marlon. The concept was simple, just a day-in-the-life collaboration that would involve Marlon spending time with Haylee, hanging out, filming, and talking. Just casual content. The kind of low-stakes collaboration that influencers do all the time. And for a while, that's exactly what it was. They filmed around the city. They sat down to eat. They talked. And then Marlon asked a question that, in isolation, sounded perfectly reasonable. Why did you and your ex-husband get divorced?
He really wanted kids, like really young, and I wasn't ready. And we had like a couple other issues, and we were just like, we should just be friends. And we were like, okay, we shared a lawyer. Like, I was on his phone plan until like a couple years ago. Like, we're just like very chill people.
The thing is, Haylee didn't stop there. She went on to say that she and Matt hadn't been compatible. Specifically, she said his penis was too big and described the size using the image of 2 Coke cans stacked on top of each other. She showed Marlon something on her phone. I don't know exactly what was on the screen, but people began speculating immediately.
All good, like.
Totally fine. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
Great. I mean,
okay.
like average, like.
No, yeah.
All the way from like, yeah, but totally fine.
Okay.
No, he was just.
Yeah.
Like 2 Coke cans stacked on top of each other. Maybe even a third type shit. Yeah. Like, he has a... Okay, wait. I'm gonna type it in here.
Yeah, chill.
The stream stayed live on Marlon's YouTube channel. Nobody scrubbed it. Clips started spreading across TikTok and X. People who had never seen the original stream found the highlights in their feeds, and that detail spread fast. Which wasn't a surprise because the internet eats things like these up. Within days, everyone was talking about it. Photos of Matt at NFL games were circulating. People were circling parts of his body in those photos. An adult content platform called Cam Soda reportedly reached out to Matt, offering a whopping $300,000 to create content about his jet in response to the vital video. As if that wasn't embarrassing enough, Matt's wife, Kehlani Asmus, started receiving harassing messages. People were asking questions about his private life based on what his ex-wife had shared on a live stream. Matt Khalil, who Haylee referred to as a private person, was now being mocked and harassed by strangers along with his new wife. It was a disaster that could have been avoided, and Matt wasn't about to let it slide. 2 months after that Twitch stream, he filed a federal lawsuit against Haylee, seeking over $75,000 in damages. The claims? Invasion of privacy, unjust enrichment, and emotional distress. In January 2026, the lawsuit became public. The internet, Twitch, had been aware of the stream but hadn't fully processed it as a legal matter, suddenly woke up to what was actually happening.
NFL pro Matt Khalil sues his ex-wife Haylee for saying his penis size ended their marriage.
After the news of the lawsuit became public, Haylee gave a statement to Page 6. In her words, "The truth is, in the original live stream, which is still live on Marlo's YouTube account, I speak highly of him in multiple ways throughout that conversation. I am genuinely shocked and incredibly hurt upon receiving news of this filing. Litigation is a harrowing and emotionally draining experience, and I'm heartbroken that he's choosing to subject our families and us to this ordeal." Haylee's legal team filed a motion to dismiss, citing free speech protections under Minnesota law. law and argued that the lawsuit would set a dangerous precedent for women speaking openly about their past relationships. Now, if I'm being honest, both the legal side and the free speech angle here are worth taking seriously. Everyone knows that women often get shut down when they talk openly about sex, relationships, and their own bodies, and figuring out which partners are allowed to share about their time together is genuinely tricky territory. But in this case, it's hard to separate Haylee's post from that bigger issue. There was also a sentimental argument. After everything he had done to support her after their divorce, a lot of people felt it wasn't fair for her to air his private business online just to get attention. So naturally, backlash started pouring in.
She decided that she was going to speak on that in a podcast, and that is why she's now being sued $75,000, excuse me. And I don't blame him for doing that, because why are you telling my business? We talked about this. We went through mediation. We had the, you know, I don't even know if they probably went to therapy. I don't know, but you had your lawyers there. Y'all gone through your divorce. Why are you now talking about your ex-husband's?
The audience was mixed. Yes, most people said Haylee was wrong, but others felt Matt should have taken advantage of the spotlight and monetized the scandal. The host in that same podcast shared that sentiment.
Because this man in perpetuity will always be coveted and sought after. He has had offers from OnlyFans, from adult video production companies who have reached out trying to get that thing on camera. You know, he if he wanted to monetize the situation, it's right there for him. He could easily Kim Kardashian this thing.
The comments were mixed. A few people agreed with the host that Haylee was complimenting her ex-husband and a lawsuit was unnecessary. Others said it was wrong regardless of intent. One comment drew a comparison that stood out to many. If she was too small, he should understand her point of view. Likewise, she should not have been so public about their differences. The host of this video does need to talk with a therapist. Only a pervert finds this interesting or funny. Listening to him reminds me of Shakespeare. Methinks or wonders he doth protest too much. There is a 180-degree opposite of too big. It's called micropenis. Google the term. One extreme or the other could and or cause problems in a relationship. Politeness would not be speaking of either extreme. Another TikToker made a video criticizing Matt's handling of the situation and suggesting monetization routes, complete with campaign taglines and everything.
But there would be so many better ways for him to handle this. So if I were on Matt's team, here's what I would do. I'd start with Calvin Klein. I'd reach out and I'd say, hey Calvin, I think we should collab. And the tagline for this campaign would be, big things come in small packages. Get it, because his thing is big and Calvin's are small. Next, I'd reach out to Coke. And once again, I'd say, hey Coke, think we should collab. And the tagline for this campaign would be, because sometimes you need more than one.
The comment sections dismantled her, with most people pointing out that she would not have been so chill about it if the roles were reversed, and it was a detail about Haylee's gender that was made public by an ex. If the roles were reversed, would this be the standpoint? Would this be the commentary? And then she replied saying, but that's not what is happening. Person was able to clock her because they ended up saying it is in fact what is happening, but to a man. If a woman were being discussed in such a malignant and derogatory manner, you would have never made this video. And while I don't want to sound biased, this person had a solid point. If a male celebrity had appeared on a live stream and described his ex-wife anatomy in graphic detail, shown an image and used hand gestures to demonstrate scale, especially while that woman was currently married to someone else, the internet would have called for his cancellation. Companies would have dropped him from endorsements, and even activists would have taken up the case to make sure his career was ruined beyond repair. The double standard was loud, but I don't want to dwell on that in this video. When it comes to the controversial things Haylee's done over the years, breaching her ex's privacy is only the tip of the iceberg. Long before that, Haylee lied about how much she was worth and even created an entire series around it. After Haylee divorced Matt, she was in New York City building something for herself. She had a $17,000 a month apartment in Manhattan that she and Matt had co-leased. Then a content creator named Caleb Simpson knocked on her door. Simpson makes apartment tour videos in New York City. He ran into Haylee and asked if he could film her place.
How much do you pay for rent in New York?
It's a lot. You're the apartment guy. Okay, come on in. Don't be on mommy's rug though.
Whoa, holy shit, this place is insane.
It's like one long bowling alley. Love for DC and Marvel. No other apartment has
It honestly reminds me of a superhero's lair.
She said yes. She thought it was low stakes, a fun thing to show people, but within a short time the video hit 52 million views, and the internet went looking for her. They found her TikTok and followed in waves. Overnight, a career was born. She capitalized on the traffic and started posting skits, humor, and a character she called William, her billionaire boyfriend who was controlling, obsessive, and absurdly over the top.
Welcome back to a day in the life of a stay-at-home billionaire's girlfriend. When I was getting ready today, I got a text from William's assistant. She said William is planning on coming home
Tonight! I couldn't believe it. I started to panic. William wasn't supposed to be home for another 2 weeks, and the apartment is a huge mess. William believes it's a woman's job to keep everything clean, so if he ever saw this mess, he would definitely dump me. The last time I left a water bottle out, he threatened to leave me for a younger woman. I just love the way he's always challenging me to be better, so I'm gonna make sure everything is spotless.
The joke was that she was playing along with a toxic dynamic in an exaggerated comedic way. The thing is, most people didn't realize it was a joke at the time, and her comments section would be full of comments like, should we tell her? We need a William reveal. You know it's bad when you hear your boyfriend is coming home and start to panic. Eventually, people started to catch on that William may not be a real person. In 2025, when everyone was confessing their biggest secrets amid the possibility of TikTok getting banned in the United States, Haylee confessed.
Since we're all gonna die, there's one more secret I feel I have to share with you. I did not care for The Godfather.
What?
Did not care for The Godfather.
How can you even say that?
The video's caption indicated that the series was her way of coping with a disturbing past. Since a lot of people missed the Williams reveal posts, this satirical skit was therapy to me and helped me escape an abusive relationship by turning my experiences into something that seemed much less scary. Thank you for helping me laugh, cry, and find myself in my voice. Haylee was clearly hinting at an abusive relationship with a rich ex, but she was very careful not to mention the name of the person in question. And for those who are still skeptical after the confession, Haylee confirmed Williams was fake in a podcast. But this time, the story was different. She admitted that she created the character to drive engagement and raise money to pay for her apartment, not because she was trying to cope with the emotional strain of an abusive relationship as she claimed earlier.
Did you actually have a billionaire boyfriend?
No. When my apartment tour went viral, I could not afford it.
Yeah.
So I was 2 weeks away from moving out, and every single one of the comments were like, what man pays for this? Part of me was like, oh my gosh, they're right, I can't afford this. This is, but I'm gonna try to use that in a way that hopefully will make me be able to afford this one day. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna give them a billionaire boyfriend, and I'm gonna start making like little shows. I was like, this is my chance to make like my own SNL.
Which was it? Was the source material for the character real? Or was it all completely made up to drive engagement and make money? Well, it didn't matter, because at the time she confessed, Haylee already had over 15 million followers, and people loved her way too much to cancel her over a fake boyfriend. Of course, the fake boyfriend and inconsistencies in her lifestyle didn't bring as much backlash as the 2024 Met Gala incident. Now, this is where things start to get a little more serious. Let's dial it back to May 2024 during the Met Gala. With tickets costing about $75,000 per person, the Met Gala was, and still remains, one of the most expensive events in the industry.
So the tickets to the gala cost around $75,000 per person.
Outside the venue, people protested over the conflict in Gaza, over wealth inequality, and over the spectacle of celebrities draping themselves in luxury while the world was on fire in more ways than one. Now, you may be wondering how Haylee got into controversy in this situation. I'll get to that shortly, but I need to explain so you'll understand the context. You see, Haylee was contacted by E! Entertainment roughly a week and a half beforehand to host pre-event content for the Met Gala. Her job was to film celebrity departures from the Mark Hotel. Once her role was done, she went home and watched the coverage from her couch. Then she decided to post a TikTok. In it, she was dressed as Marie Antoinette, the 18th century French queen who became a symbol of aristocratic excess and elite indifference toward the suffering poor. The dress alone wouldn't have led to any issues, but Haylee took things a step further by lip-syncing a trending audio at the time.
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
Whether Marie Antoinette actually said it or not, the phrase has been historically tied to the ruling class dismissing people who were starving, and she posted it while standing adjacent to one of the most exclusive, expensive celebrity events in the world, with protests happening just on the other side of the building. The timing annihilated Haylee, and the backlash flooded in instantly.
Gesture, which shows that those celebrities are so out of touch with reality, they don't know what actually is happening right now. They're rich, they don't know how the poor people are, how it feels like to be poor, and they are just like, well, everything is okay, I'm just gonna spend $75,000 at the Met Gala, I'm just gonna pretend it's Halloween.
People accused her of being tone-deaf, elitist, and emblematic of everything wrong with influencer culture. Marie Alice Farina, another influencer with a smaller following, made a video correcting Haylee in a way that showed how impactful those words actually were.
Let them eat cake.
Food. Let them eat food and drink water. Clean water in Gaza. Over 2 million people are now experiencing famine.
That video racked up over 4 million views and was one in a string of videos condemning Haylee's actions. But it didn't stop there. Days later, Blackout 2024 started trending. What started as a simple TikTok video had spiraled into a coordinated movement encouraging people to mass block influencers and celebrities. The goal was to tank ad revenue and send a message about accountability. Haylee's follower count dropped, hate videos stacked up, and for a good stretch of time, her name was basically synonymous with the controversy. Even though people were mad at every celebrity who hadn't spoken up about the conflict in Gaza, Haylee's name was trending as the primary target of the movement. Haylee took accountability and made a video apologizing for actions.
To the audio that I used for that particular video, and first and foremost, before I say anything, I need to apologize. I am so sorry that I chose a sound that you guys could ever possibly feel was malicious in nature. If I had thought for even 1 second that the sound would be received that way, I never ever would have used it. When I film my TikToks, I love to use trending audios and sounds that people are currently using, and this was one of them. The sound has been used in over 110,000 TikTok videos.
She called herself dumb, admitted she hadn't thought it through, apologized for making people feel unseen, and emphasized repeatedly that she wasn't at the actual gala. She was working and she went home when the job was done.
That's the only way that you get there. I was not invited by Anna Wintour. I did not hold an actual invitation to the Met Gala. I was involved only as a host, meaning that the moment that the last attendee left the hotel, I went home and I watched the Met Gala coverage from my couch with my friends. That is also why you haven't seen any photos of me on the white and green carpet for the Met Gala.
The thing is, the apology didn't stick. In fact, it sparked its own wave of criticism, mainly because Haylee kept insisting that she was a normal person and not an elite like the other celebrities being dragged. People made sarcastic videos that highlighted how insincere the apology was.
Look at all these other people that use that TikTok sound. Why aren't you attacking them? Why are you only attacking me? I have a lot of really rich and famous friends, and so I didn't even pay for my gown that probably cost thousands and thousands of dollars. I got it for free.
Some others felt she was being disingenuous in her attempt to seem relatable. I mean, this is a woman who competed in Miss USA, modeled for Sports Illustrated, was at the Met Gala in any professional capacity, was married to a professional football player for years, and had a $17,000 a month apartment in Manhattan. In what world was that normal? There was also the fact that the apology generated over 30 million views and thousands of dollars in revenue for the engagement.
And tell her that she needs to donate all proceeds from that garbage video to Gazans in need. Run, do not walk. Unblock her if you have to, and run, do not walk to her comment section to demand that she donates the likely tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that that video has made.
It was tough, but the heat eventually died down, and her audience moved past the incident. The Blackout campaign faded, and Haylee recovered from the controversy. That same year, Haylee got into another dicey situation, but this time, it was deeper than a single video, and it revealed something dark about Haylee's personality. It all started with Haylee posting videos with a man named Kyle Vieira, a Brazilian model with a modest platform at the time. The content followed the familiar format Haylee had perfected. It was ambiguous, playful, and had that will they, won't they energy that was designed to generate speculation and drive engagement. Comments flew. People wanted to know if they were dating, and as expected, the algorithm rewarded the mystery. Videos they did together racked up millions of views. Eventually, it became obvious that both of them were an item. By then, their videos had already generated enough buzz that people recognized Kyle from somewhere else. A creator named Jamie Stone had been in a relationship with Kyle. She knew exactly who he was. And when he started appearing on Haylee's page, being twirled through the streets of New York City, filmed for content, and building a following he hadn't had before, Jamie felt obligated to warn Haylee. Both ladies had crossed paths once before, years earlier, on a magazine trip. They weren't friends, but they knew each other enough for a DM to land without being completely out of nowhere. So Jamie reached out.
Purely because I reached out to her about this very bad man that she's continuing to give a platform to, like single-handedly giving a platform to. He didn't have a platform before she came in the picture. She has been putting him in her videos, helping him make his own TikToks.
What Jamie told her was serious. Kyle was a serial cheater, a manipulator, emotionally abusive. And then she got to the part that was most immediately alarming. He had an incurable transmitted disease that he failed to disclose throughout their entire relationship, despite the fact that they had been physically intimate. She had found by accident pill bottles in his apartment with the medication name scratched off, but he had missed one, and she looked it up and was terrified when she found out it was for a sexually transmitted disease.
Because now I'm wondering, oh my God, not only am I like, oh my God, this man's cheating on me again, already super upset about that, then I'm like, oh my God, this man has this, and I have been intimate with him. What the fuck is going on? So I'm literally like shaking, okay? He's about to come back upstairs and I'm like, fuck, like what am I supposed to do right now? I'm like, do you have this thing? And he's like, no, lies to me again. And I'm like, dude, do you know that if I'm sitting here asking you about it and we continue to be intimate, that you can literally go to prison because that is illegal?
When she confronted him, he lied, and she told him there were legal consequences for continuing intimacy without disclosure. Only then did he break down and admit it, and then almost immediately made himself the victim in the conversation. She described going to the doctor alone, crying in the office, waiting on results in terror, and feeling like her ability to give informed consent had been taken from her. Jamie told Haylee all of this and more. Haylee's response to it, according to Jamie, was exactly what you would expect. She was receptive and said she believed women. She thanked Jamie and said she was going to confront Kyle. They spent hours exchanging voice notes and DMs, and Jamie felt there was genuine solidarity in those exchanges. And then a few days later, Kyle appeared on Haylee's page again. Then another video. Then she tagged him, and the content featuring him kept coming, video after video. Jamie begged her to stop. She explained that every post gave Kyle a bigger audience. Every tag extended his reach to Haylee's millions of followers. Every video made him more visible, more accessible, more credible. Haylee's response was that she had talked to Kyle at length, that she had made him sign some kind of contract or something. The contract was to ensure he would behave himself during their relationship. Needless to say, that didn't work. And that was why Jamie made the original video publicly calling Haylee out. The video was posted with the text: "When you warn an influencer about the guy in her recent TikToks, talk to her for hours about how he traumatized you, and she agrees he was a bad guy, then she stops responding and doubles down on posting him because it gets her views, and now she's under fire for her new series where she lies about a fake relationship with a billionaire boyfriend, making a mockery out of women who have come forward about their real abuse relationships." So according to Jamie, part of Haylee's fake billionaire boyfriend series was based on the traumatic experiences Jamie had when she was with Kyle. Even though she didn't mention Haylee's name, everyone in the comments knew exactly who she was talking about.
Sure about this, Haylee took this woman's stories and made a skit with her ex that was very, very reminiscent of something that she actually experienced. Haylee scripted this woman's trauma and made it into a script with Jamie's ex.
People called Haylee out with comments like, "Yes, Haylee steals every single one of her videos from smaller creators too. I always see the smaller creators' videos on my FYP, and I'm shocked no one calls her out on that. I thought we already canceled that Haylee person for the Met Gala shit. Don't we all hate her already?" Haylee never addressed the allegations from Jamie publicly, nor did she apologize to Jamie. Eventually, Kyle cheated on Haylee and did pretty much everything Jamie had warned her about. Haylee spent months talking about the breakup and the manipulation she went through until she finally moved on. She was able to survive this scandal primarily because it didn't generate as much traction as the Met Gala controversy, and that worked in her favor. She got lucky, but at this point the pattern was clear for everyone to see. Haylee does something that generates enormous attention. The attention spikes, follower counts move, engagement explodes, and by the time the backlash arrives, she's already made a lot of money from the scandal. The line between living your life publicly and running toward controversy gets very thin in this era of social media validation, and Haylee's been dancing on that line throughout her career. About a year after she broke up with Kyle, she introduced her audience to a new man. Months before the face reveal, she teased people with multiple videos and dropped hints to keep her audience glued until she finally posted his face. As expected, the video racked up millions of views because Haylee knows exactly how to pull the strings of followers. The comments rolled in and they were mixed. So many people said she was moving too fast. Some doubted the relationship's authenticity, and some even asked if he wasn't too young for her. "He's moving on damn fast." Haylee replied saying, "I broke up with my ex a year ago. Girl, we need to talk. I've been online. When did this happen? Girl, it's okay to be single. Hell nah, he looks young." The thing is, Haylee spent so much time scripting fake characters and playing out these scripts that viewers can't tell when she's being serious or not. She has real talent, and we can't take that from her. She even made the Time 100 Creators list in 2025, and her pages continued to grow steadily despite the controversies. Haylee has managed to turn it all into success and cash. She now moves with big celebrities, attends the Grammys regularly, and gets invited to multiple shows. But Haylee needs to tread carefully, because if the last few years have shown me anything, it's that the internet has a retentive memory, and Haylee at this point probably knows that better than anyone. Most fans have turned a blind eye to her flaws and given Haylee multiple chances, but it only takes one slip up for the internet to bring up all your past mistakes and cancel you permanently. And you know what they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, just like the next TikToker on my channel.